right next to Baron, obviously, so it's very easy to push it out. And that was just very smart setup by Fnatic, waiting for that one opportunity to get a flank for Huni. They did. It wasn't communicated by KurO. Maybe they were just too far out and couldn't react in time. But now there's no TP for Huni, and that's very important for him and the way Fnatic wants to engage.
Luckily, on the side of KurO, no TPs there either, so the map play is going to get reduced over the next few minutes. As far as Fnatic are concerned, though, it's all about that Baron. As we continue to see, there's some deep vision again in the jungle. Let's see if they can pull KurO towards them.
Baron is how Fnatic has gained most of their advantages against EDG to an absurd extent. Actually, they had a total goal differential of 35,000 against EDG. 29,000 of that was during the Baron power plays. But in this particular juncture, 28 minutes in, Dragon is actually more important and easier. So they're moving towards that side of the map. You can see KurO is respecting it in turn.
Yeah, Fnatic have not got their hands on a single Dragon yet, so that buff will be quite powerful, and denying the movement speed from KurO's team fight is also going to be very impactful.
Fnatic needs to be careful now, though, because KurO just pushed up the bottom lane and Huni's showing himself.
Poor timing around Dragon.
Yeah, they know where he is. That means KurO can start this Dragon. And the rest of Fnatic, if they push up towards this mid lane,
Huni has no TP. Yeah, Huni has no TP right here, so I really question that decision from Fnatic. They had the advantage. They should have actually been bullying into the Dragon area and forcing KurO to fight them, because Dragon doesn't hit as hard as Baron. So at this stage in the game, you can actually force the Dragon and force KurO to come and fight them, in which case they get the cataclysmic team fight they've been looking for. Instead, they just allow KurO a Dragon for pretty much nothing.
Traditionally, though, European LCS teams, maybe to an extent NA LCS teams as well, do not fight around those third or oftentimes fourth Dragons. It's waiting until the very last moment and then trying to interrupt them.
I agree. Most of that, though, is when you have a deficit.
Wow! KurO does get chunked out. Reignover is just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Fnatic do not find a kill, and Reignover reading from the amazing style of top lane inner turret.
I was about to say,
inner turrets are really dangerous.
I saw a Rek'Sai do exactly this yesterday as well, where you're just like, oh, I guess I'm just gonna walk through this tower, it doesn't matter. And instantly you get just jumped on and your team can't help you, really. Reignover has made some good plays in the early game. He often makes a lot of good plays in the early game, but one of the reasons he got the name Game Over in Korea was because once he had all these fantastic early game plays, around 20-25 minutes, he would kind of be too aggressive and just keep trying to force fights and keep trying to set up dives, and he would overextend. Hojin might do the same now, though.
Oh, Hojin, look at his passive pop. That's the cell division. Fnatic are not together, though. They're waiting for YellOwStaR to get up. Huni and Reignover trying to buy time. They've killed themselves. They're zapped, and they're looking for more. Prey is on the retreat. He's got the light steal, though, and with Rekkles down, Smeb is going huge. YellOwStaR is late to the party. It's a triple kill for Smeb. KurO jumps over the wall, looking for Febiven, and will not find him. 4 for 1 to KurO Tigers.
This is going to be Baron for the KurO Tigers. Now, I was about to say before that fight how deceptive this gold lead actually is for Fnatic. Reignover is on a poor scaling Rek'Sai, full tank build, and was 4,000 of the 6,000 gold advantage for Fnatic. Not to mention, KurO Tigers had 3 Dragons to 0, so the 6% attack damage and ability power was all in the side of KurO Tigers. All of that together means the game is actually pretty damn even when you before you take in the scaling of the champions. They killed the weakest member before this fight, and he really hasn't done much, but they burned a lot of cooldowns to do so. Plus, they didn't have their whole team here when they go in to kill the blob.
Yeah, look at Huni's ulti to try and get that last hit on the Zac. It's when he only gets Gorilla after. So the carries right now has been untouched until Prey takes this damage, but he can flash out. Now Cassidy is still alive. He has that Athene to get the mana back whenever he can just jump in and get a kill. And the Riven, of course, jumping in.
And also, 1 exhaust is greater than 3 ignites 35 minutes into the game. We see the use of the exhaust right there. KurO Tigers understands exactly when they can fight based on the cooldowns of the other team. That is one of their greatest strengths. And as soon as Huni used his ultimate on Hecarim on not KurO and not Prey, it was go time for KurO, and they capitalized.
We see why people praise KurO Tigers for being one of the best team fighting teams, if not the best team fighting team in Korea, because they know exactly what to do here. And Fnatic will look back at this game and say, we had a great start, good early plan, we played it really well, but then we just went too crazy with the plays we were trying to make. We group up to try and get 1 kill onto a support, onto a jungler, and that is not enough. That's not okay, because KurO Tigers punish you for that.
Well, KurO have already taken 2 towers during the course of this Baron buff. This inner turret will be the 3rd, and Smeb is down that bottom lane going toe-to-toe with Huni on another potential tower. The gold lead is now completely insignificant at 1,000 and KurO are still using those Baron-empowered minions. Is this going to be the 4th tower in a row here, just falling over like dominoes?
I mean, as far as efficiency of champions plus items as well as dragon bonuses, KurO, I'd give them a pretty big gold lead right here. And we know because of these team compositions, they're fight comps. Fnatic, they only stop these turrets going down if they fight. And if they lose a fight, as they've lost the last 3 or 4 fights, the game is over.
So pressure on Febiven to pull the magic out of his hat. He did it against AHQ in a similar situation after Fnatic had given up the early lead that they had generated. And one big team fight can still swing this either way.
But who will Fnatic focus? QSS on Kalista, and Kalista's not even the important member for KurO Tigers now. Kassadin and Riven are dealing the majority of the damage in these big team fights. You most likely have to just try and take down Smeb. If he goes a little bit too far forward, you jump him instantly and you try and burst him. He's the only guy who can really defend himself. He has no defensive items, only the shield from the Bloodthirster. He might be the only guy you can just completely one-shot.
So let's see if Fnatic agree. Hojin charging up that elastic slingshot, threatening the dive. Fnatic scatter to minimize the risk. Tower loses 50% of its hit points, and KurO push up to the middle lane. Smeb and Gorilla, both melee, they're underneath. Again, Hojin charges and cancels, backs away. He's got himself some MR, and Febiven unable to find those 2 chains. Hojin walks out.
This game is very heavily looking in the favor of KurO Tigers, and it is kind of answering a lot of our questions before this tournament. Does KurO Tigers have weaknesses? Yes. Their early game has been giving up so much against these better teams, but they're still able to turn it around. It's not to say that their early game is the right plan. I still think there are several flaws in the way they play the early game, but time and again, they are able to find the windows with massive gold discrepancies and turn these games around.
But the KurO Tigers faced teams like CLG and the Flash Wolves and so on in Group A. They didn't feel like they had to wait for late game to win games. They could challenge them in the laning phase in the early game and had super bloody games. When they face KT and Fnatic, they very clearly respect what they can do in the early game, so they take the more consistent, passive style at first and wait for late game where they want to try and punish them.
I think the game is right here. It depends on how well KurO can flank. YellOwStaR already got out of position.
YellOwStar's going to get dropped here. The rest of Fnatic are simply not nearby. And YellOwStar got his ultimate off, and that was it. Now Smeb, he's looking to flank both Rekkles and Reignover. Rekkles is able to flash over the walls, being chased down. The Wind Slash will deal enough damage to allow KurO to kill him. A flash forward into the key strike will allow the stun to connect on Huni, and Huni's now in trouble. Smeb looks for Reignover. All of a sudden, Fnatic are coming apart at the seams, and KurO say, screw the dragon, we'll take the base instead. 30-second death time as they've got themselves 1 inhibitor already, and will peel backwards, holding the gold lead now. Most likely a dragon on the exit as well.
Definitely gonna get a dragon as well. Huni saved teleport as soon as they realized YellOwStaR were completely caught out of basically nowhere.
Great play by KurO once again. And a mistake from Fnatic.
And this is also why teams pick Kassadin. So much of Kassadin that we've seen at Worlds has been run over in the early game, hasn't been able to keep up.
But Kassadin in this game should have been run over in the early game.
Yep.
They were so far down. Reignover had 4 kills on this Rek'Sai. He had done almost everything correct in the early game. They were pushing every single lane. And then the team goes down to that bottom lane and says, hey, let's 5-on-5 dive at like 17 minutes. Even though we had a chance to run away, they went for it. That was the first big fight KurO Tigers won. 4 kills went over to the Kassadin, and suddenly they could respond to everything Fnatic did. And you can also look back in that Baron call for Fnatic. Should they have stuck to the Baron and try and get it? Or was it the right call to peel away and get that 1 kill on Smeb and say that was about it, we want to play it safe?
Or even the 3rd dragon when Fnatic had a large lead and could have forced KurO Tigers into a fight. But now, Reignover, but he is a long ways, and there is no escape.
No, you're not going to get away from Kassadin. Febiven will get in range to at least watch his teammate become game overed.
And Prey is helping.
Well, kill secured, that's what counts. 38 seconds before Reignover can try help his fellow teammates. KurO, they're pushing down the bottom. So Huni with teleport is pushing against those super minions. That will help a little. I still feel like KurO's going to take the base.
They got to give up the 2nd inhibitor.
Love when Zach runs in.
Sometimes the animation doesn't quite work with Zach.
I like this one more.
and he runs. It's very fun. Baron up in 15 seconds. Reignover does have a tunnel up behind where KurO is, and that is what Smeb is going to destroy right now, I think.
So by Reignover taking that red buff, he got 3 wards placed behind. That KurO Tigers might not expect to be there, because they just randomly found Reignover. But they should know there's something behind him at least. They don't know where.
Some respect from KurO when they heard the farm alarm.
Fnatic has to win this one. They have to win this fight right here, right now.
There is no margin for error. Febiven's looking for the flank and Huni's looking for prey. Febiven's dropped to half HP and KurO, he's coming from the Baron pit. He's jumped onto 4 members of Fnatic and so is Hojin. YellOwStar's down. Febiven manages to get the distortion as the onslaught of shadows will send prey back to the shadows. Hojin gets his passive pop. The cell is divided and KurO may be too. That's a double kill for Huni.
Stop the TP.
Pink blobs will get squashed, and Fnatic, they start the Baron. Rekkles is on it. Have Fnatic done it?
Wow, what a bold fight there by Fnatic. This fight it's going to prolong the game. They're not going to win straight off this one because they are down 2 inhibitors, but they get the kills on their priority targets. I can't wait to see that fight again.
KurO Tigers had no idea where the wards were behind them, so they thought they had a safe way to escape. Moving towards that top side, Huni shows up instantly, and the big fight is on. It took such a long time for KurO Tigers to kill anyone in that fight.
Deficio, Kennen had Steric's Gauge in that team fight, and it did proc while he was trying to be assassinated. The ultimate evolution of AD carry builds here at Worlds. But this game is still so interesting. That fight, Febiven had to try so hard not to get assassinated by KurO, but the cast in LeBlanc was a sideshow to the focus on to Prey. Not to mention, Smeb was pushing a wave, so he was incredibly late to this fight. Look, Smeb has to use a lot of his burst onto YellOwStaR.
So that basically wins the fight for Fnatic, that Smeb is so busy on the top side, because what KurO did was he jumped in and he insta-popped Hourglass, so his damage obviously went down. He couldn't do anything while sitting there and had to jump out of the fight as well. Normally you want Kassadin and Riven to dive together. So when Kassadin deals the damage, he pops Hourglass. Riven is there to follow up with her stun and her damage until Kassadin is back out of that Hourglass. But because they were split up, went wrong. And Huni now, you're farming very far out.
He also doesn't have mana to use many spells. Whew.
KurO, if they chased, may have been surrounded. Fnatic have got themselves a squad in the river. Now, we know they've got Baron buff. Dragon's up in 2 minutes, and KurO are threatening aspects. Smeb can split push with his TP, and Fnatic have a minute and a half to figure out what they want to do. GA also on Smeb, so even more power to these extended team fights.
Yeah, this is going to be Fnatic trying to wait out some summoners, and hopefully for them start setting up for this dragon. They have to fight for it. They won't have TP ready though from Huni, so the engage is very, very hard to pull off on their side, but there's no flash for Prey, so they might be able to one-shot him, but you cannot invest too much because Riven and Kassadin are the main damage dealers in these late games fights. You even see Prey building now.
Yeah.
Straight HPs, like, I'm doing my job just by basically having them jump on me,
he
try and kill me.
He sold his QSS for that Giant spell. I think it's because he's mainly been getting killed by Huni, Reignover, and Rekkles, so he actually hasn't been getting hurt by LeBlanc. That is a pretty inefficient purchase as far as Prey is concerned, so that hurts their gold efficiency a little bit. This is Fnatic's moment, though. The trick here is Smeb can answer with TP, and the only way Fnatic makes something out of this push mid lane is if they dive the inhibitor turret. I think they're actually just going for ward control in the Dragon area. That's the most important thing.
Fnatic got inhib back in the bottom side, so they now have a slow push building up. It's a very big wave that's going to build up. That means they only have to worry about top side. But again, you have no teleport, so if Huni leaves to clear that wave, KurO can go straight for Dragon in 30 seconds.
This is a huge worry because the teleport of Huni is actually not synced up right now, so they're either giving up, and they have to give up basically 1 or 2 inhibitors for the 5th Dragon. Huni's running over right now. He needs to charge the Dragon Pit immediately.
Fnatic is so far out here. There are wards behind them Smeb can teleport onto if he wants to start the fight, but Hojin also needs to find a way to get the engage off without Fnatic just obviously seeing out there in the open. Huni's moving over now. Smeb is going back to that top side. Dragon is alive in 5 seconds from now.
This is so huge. Smeb is actually not here at the start of the fight, so if Fnatic were to catch Prey and kill him before the teleport completed, they could win the fight. They are forcing KurO in. Hojin will be able to jump into this pit. This is the fight of the game.
The teleport is coming down for Smeb, and the Dragon looks like it will get secured. Picked up by Fnatic, but Febiven is forced away. Smeb will not find the kill, and Febiven jumps in the pit. They've traded AD carry for support, but Febiven's down down as well. Rekkles needs to survive and tank. The shields are there, but there may not be enough. He's flashed out, and KurO chases him. That's a triple, looking for more. Huni's getting run down, and Huni will not find anything. A quadra for KurO, and that's the game.
What a game this was. So many massive team fights. It comes up to the apocalyptic moment. Fnatic has to force the dragon. They do interrupt Hojin, but in using that crowd control, they enable KurO and the rest of KU to win the team fight. The death timers are long enough. This should be the game.
Smeb managed to TP in behind Febiven, and he took him out completely. Febiven did no damage in that team fight, and Fnatic, they need him. Late game, KU Tigers, they deserve this one.
While Nexus turrets are falling, minions have conga lined in, and the cool, calm, collected KU Tigers will pick up their first victory and are one step closer to an all-Korean final with SKT.
5,000 gold down, 15 minutes into the game. Were the KU Tigers, but by the end of it, they are up in gold, and ultimately they did the only thing that matters. They killed the Nexus.
They did, and Febiven in that last fight, he did 300 damage on a late game LeBlanc because the flank from Smeb came in. He didn't expect it. He got stunned. He got basically taken out of the fight. It lost it for Fnatic, but obviously it wasn't that fight alone. It was everything building up to it because they were down 4 dragons to 0. They had such a good early game. Seemed like there was a clear plan for Fnatic. They punished that greedy Kassadin-Zac combo that can't do anything around the mid lane until we start getting these 5-on-5 very aggressive tower dives where KU Tigers always had teleport ready. They saw Fnatic move down, and it was like there was only one way for Fnatic. That was just keep going forward. We just have to go for this dive now.
A little too eager maybe in terms of their team comp, and feeling that gold lead, while it was very, very sizable, it wasn't big enough to thwart the bad tower dive at, what was it, 22 minutes that then skyrocketed KU in terms of gold and power.
Against like YellOwStaR and Zac as well, the CC.
I think so much we have to talk about as well is just how much pressure these players are under and how difficult it is to perform optimally in this situation. Fnatic knows how much the European fans want them to win, right? KU is actually coming in with a lot of confidence because the only team to beat a team from the LCK was KU Tigers, right? Other than that, it's looking like it's going to be an all-Korean showing, and they have the experience of playing calm when they are behind.
And talking about that, pull up the replay of that last team fight because completely game-changing. This was the decision from Fnatic to start Dragon.
All right, so for Fnatic, they have to just go for the Dragon instantly.
It's the
they
right
know
decision.
It. Look here, first of all, what YellOwStaR is going to do to Hojin to interrupt the slingshot, but then pay attention to where Smeb is coming in behind Febiven. We can just roll the clip, and you're going to have to see here what happens to Febiven.
This is the fight that basically decides the game. Because of the teleport timing, Febiven doesn't get to do damage in this fight. Unfortunately, I think we're having a bit of a technical glitch. The
we
replay
enjoy
should
seeing
play.
this. Another thing for Fnatic, obviously, is the fact that Hecarim doesn't have teleport. So you can flank.
I was so looking forward to that fight, Officio.
You were.
We're going to try again. We're going to try again. Let's see what happens. Because again, Fnatic, they had their backs against the wall, absolutely had to win that fight, and it didn't happen. So unfortunately, we will have to watch that, or maybe let the analyst desk take a look at it a little later.
300 damage he dealt.
Yeah.
And it's the first fight that he really got zoned out.
Yeah.
Earlier in the Baron pit, Febiven's flank allowed Fnatic to pick up some of that damage and actually win that then lane to the Baron.
Yeah, the team compositions were bouncing back a little bit as long as Smeb was being handled in the team fights, which is why it's so important that he jumped on the Blanc before the Blanc could jump on him.
Yeah,
That is actually very much a skill matchup in truest sense of the word, and Febiven was outplayed. His first death of the game.
He played almost perfect. Almost perfect the entire game long. And then, sadly for him, he's the guy getting jumped.
Yeah, I want to talk about the Kassadin pick a little bit again, too, because, yes, Kassadin does have big weaknesses, but if the win condition of Kassadin is just pick up some kills somewhere in the game, is that really so hard to fulfill? Because I feel like Kassadin, I feel like he is over-criticized in chaotic games where you will be having team fights. He can do this, and by the end of the fight, by the end of the game, 11-1-12, huge amounts of damage. The fight!
All right, after this replay, we will head to the analyst desk, but yeah, talk us through, gents.
So, Gorilla gets a perfect knock-up on Febiven, and then Smeb flashes in and basically takes him out of the fight. You can't really do anything as LeBlanc here, and then the damage for Fnatic is too low because he was the late game damage. The cannon is not going to do a whole lot. Almost full tank Hecarim is obviously not going to carry the fight either. So that's what KurO uses to win.
Yeah, there were a couple good plays that happened in that fight because Fnatic also killed Prey right away. Prey only did 300 damage to champions in that
magic
fight
number.
as well. But Febiven was more valuable than Prey in that situation, and KurO and Smeb could just keep resetting their damage.
Again and again and again.
And exactly what they did. So, first blood has been struck, and it's Fnatic that are down 0-1. We're going to head over to the analyst desk, talk a little bit more about that very exciting matchup.
Thank you, Quickshot. There was so much blood in that game. There was more.
different games now, they banned Mordekaiser themselves. Because I think due to them having a lot of, should we call them crazy picks or new picks you're not really expecting, or due to them trusting their ability to play more standard compositions, they don't need to trade like a Mordekaiser for Gangplank, don't want to risk it. Seems to be the strategy they were running against KT at least, so I wouldn't be surprised to see them just ban away Mordekaiser and Gangplank potentially themselves.
Yeah, and I think it's really important that Fnatic has a pretty evolved strategy for the red side pick ban here, because there are so many advantages the blue side team gets, and they have to be looking at this like an away game. They have to steal a game on red side if they want to win the series. Now, they've lost their home court advantage from being the higher seed.
And in the last game, Reignover managed to get his jungle pick, the Rek'Sai. We were talking before the game, okay, what is Reignover going to play if Rek'Sai and Elise is gone? Is he going to go for that Olaf pick we've seen back in Europe? Is he going to try and play Lee Sin? He hasn't played it all year long, and we have to go all the way back to when he was on IM number 2 and IM number 1, he used to play it. On blue side, you should be able to secure that pick for yourself, the priority jungler, and often ban away one of them yourself, or expect Elise to be banned on red side and then you first pick a Rek'Sai. That would leave Reignover in a situation where he has to find something else to play. And this might be where we get to see what he can pull out. We saw Zach from Hojin.
Well, Zach ended up working well in the later stages of the game. Crowd is definitely trying to send their energy and love around the venue. We're going to jump into picks and bans for games 2 in just a couple of moments and see how these teams prioritize. Because the game that was remade against EDG, Fnatic left both Mordekaiser and GP through. We know KurO has had that penchant to ban it on blue side, but maybe, so KurO can surprise, not ban it this time, and catch us all a little off guard.
Well, EDG saw that Fnatic were okay leaving it open and take the trade, so EDG went Mordekaiser. Normally you'd always go for Gangplank because he does really well into the Mordekaiser as well. But after EDG saw that and the remake happened, they're like, oh, we're not going to do this again.
Not worth.
They banned it on blue side, not want to risk that trade. They trusted more in their more standard picks.
Yeah, the fact, though, that you normally take Gangplank before the Mordekaiser, and even with that knowledge, Fnatic was willing to let a trade go through, means that they could be willing to let this go through once more. Rekkles has played maybe more Mordekaiser than anybody else. When it first went over to Korea for his bootcamp, nearly 2 months ago when the patch first hit that they were playing Worlds on, he was first on the train. And I think they're okay actually going into that matchup.
And I think also we have to look at Febiven in the mid lane, because Analysts just talked about how they wanted double teleport to be a thing for Fnatic. Febiven on this LeBlanc, I think we look at the last game and we look at the first 20 minutes as one game in itself. And it paid off to have offensive summoners ignite in 3 different lanes, super aggressive, try and force that 2v2 fight around the mid lane. Reignover ganked KurO like 3 or 4 times early and then invaded into the jungle. That paid off for Fnatic, and they should have been able to close that game out or gone towards the Baron and not taken these tower dives, which were so telegraphed that KurO Tigers could respond. Late game, we did see the problem though, with double teleport. And the funny thing is, I almost feel like when Fnatic is running a more standard comp in the sense of a control mage in the mid lane with a teleport for Febiven, and a carry who can deal damage for Rekkles. So it's not all about Huni snowballing. I often feel like that Fnatic team looks a little bit better in the sense that they can play more risk, or they can play more slow. They don't have to go all in the early game like we saw before.
Well, just a quick update, guys. We did have a chat to the production team and our referees and our QA off air and backstage regarding the wards that could not see each other. And when vision is unequal, a green ward can see a pink ward, but the pink ward cannot see the green ward. We will always pause. Now, when wards cannot see one another, we do not pause because of the map geometry. So when it is not clear if it is geometry or a ward bug, we will only pause if this is a severe impact on the game. In this case, each time LeBlanc roamed down, she was spotted by a KurO ward near the Dragon entrance ramp, which is why the impact was not severe and did not result in a pause.
Yeah, well, also I was going to check it in the game, and when I toggled the wards, the green ward couldn't see the pink ward, and the pink ward couldn't see the green ward, which is different than the ward that was paused in the Baron pit earlier in the tournament. Still, something to keep your eyes on.
It is, and something we'll be keeping an eye out for as we continue through the series. And of course, as we saw, it was the decision to tower dive that got punished, but LeBlanc had been spotted early. And, you know, some props to Febiven. Analyst was talking about maybe Febiven picking up that second teleport to Fisho. What's your take on that? Is it going to be dependent very much on how much map pressure they want, or did you like the Ignite?
I think for his LeBlanc pick against the Kassadin, I think it was okay for the early game. It's a very risky strategy, obviously, for Fnatic, but they paid off for them in the early game. The reason they lost the game was not due to not having a double teleport situation. They lost the game because they went over-aggressive and went into tower dives they shouldn't have gone into. And KurO got kills, Smeb got kills from it. That was where it went really wrong. Obviously, it didn't help not having double teleport, but as I said before, I like Febiven running teleport because it means Fnatic doesn't have to go all in the early game, and they can play more for late game as well.
Well, interesting that KurO actually bans Rek'Sai here. Since they would have been able to first pick it, that blocks Fnatic
Oh,
from
they're
forcing
gonna
a
first pick
pick.
Tahm Kench for Gorilla.
Yeah, they could.
The best Tahm Kench player, in my opinion, so far at Worlds has been Gorilla. So I think
ban.
this is good from KurO Tigers.
Well, also because Febiven has been assassinating so many people, but at the same time, the Blanc is already in the ban thing. I actually think if there is a weakness for Tahm Kench, it's against heavy AoE teams.
Yeah.
And since they've already banned away the best assassin, there's a chance that's what Fnatic goes for.
And we so rarely see these AoE teams, like Rumble is being played very little by Marin, basically, is the only one so far. Another thing, we haven't seen Rekkles play Kalista at the World Championship yet. Fnatic is one of the teams who bans it the most. So KurO Tigers are basically saying, normally here you would pick Kalista on the side of Fnatic and be like, okay, you get Tahm Kench, we get Kalista, we have to take that trade. I wonder if Fnatic's gonna go for it this time around. If not, you risk KurO Tigers getting that one as well, and suddenly there's a lot of power picks going to their side. I think this is the perfect start for KurO Tigers.
Great first pick.
In theory, though, Fnatic should be aware of it because of the penchant that KurO Tigers have shown for Tahm. They will not go for the Kalista. It's likely giving that up to Prey and instead take the Ashe.
Yeah. We were wondering if Rekkles and Prey were going to be taking away each other's favorite AD carries so far at Worlds. KurO Tigers either picked Ashe or had it banned away from them in the majority of their games. But it's not like Rekkles can't play Ashe. He played it before anyone else did as far as the European LCS is concerned.
Yeah.
Played it right away in the summer split, and Fnatic can play around it quite well.
And it is a good AD carry pick into Kalista, at least when it comes to trading in the laning phase, and then level 6 trying to set up that TP gank with your arrow and use that. So Fnatic has a 2v2 lane that if they're running double teleport can be super impactful because they are so good at diving towers and setting up ganks, both YellOwStaR and Ashe, in the way they can force the play onto KurO Tigers, then teleport in. But we do also have to see what Reignover wants to play in the jungle because we had the Rek'Sai, we had the Elise ban.
You've got a number of very difficult to kill champions for KurO Tigers. Hojin will lock in Zac for his second appearance on the world stage. Kalista to follow. And the next question as well, Fnatic, will they leave that counter pick for Huni in the top lane or for Febiven in the mid lane? These next two will give us that answer.
I would prefer to see counter pick for Huni in the top lane because it's very important you can win that lane so you can transition that pressure to the bottom side where you have your Ashe and your YellOwStaR. Azir will be a fine pick, fine blind pick, in my opinion. Kassadin might come in against it though, which is a good matchup, but you can still push him down to tower.
I actually like Victor a lot more. Mainly because of how good KurO is at Victor. Now KurO did play Azir in the group stage, but as far as the summer split was concerned in the LCK, he was 0-6, and I think this denial pick provides a little bit more value. I think Azir and Victor generally fulfilled the same wave clearing role, with Azir having slightly better assassination, but Fnatic only wants... Oh man, they go for Azir anyway.
So
they only want the AoE damage.
The thing about Azir as well though against the Zac is when Zac blobs in towards you, if you can try and shoot him away with your own wall from the Azir, you can stop a lot of his crowd control from happening. Obviously, you have to be very, very good, and Febiven has played a ton of Azir before and has shown good moves with it. I also just think he's basically saying it, I want to pressure this mid lane. No matter what you're playing, I'm going to push it. I'm going to push it because Skarner is a jungler. In terms of 1v1, he's pretty strong. Like when it comes to a skirmish, especially if he can fight around the crystals for himself. Ganking-wise, pre-level 6 though, he's pretty useless.
We've seen Skarner once before this tournament, and it left a whole lot to be desired. And we'll see how good that Impale will be. On the bright side, you have double the value. If Tahm Kench swallows somebody and you Impale a Tahm Kench,
you pull two people.
You pull two people.
Yeah.
Next level. I mean, it could be top lane Skarner if they want to surprise us, but KurO Tigers will be denying Skarner any chance of Impale. Smeb will run Fiora and say, I dare you to pick Riven. And KurO will round out the composition with that Vigor. I really like what KurO Tigers have put together.
Few things though about KurO Tigers comp. Again, it's going to be so much about Gorilla on this Tahm Kench because we know KurO wants to run teleport in the mid lane. Ashe is an AD carry who try to force the enemy mid laner to run cleanse. If you don't do it, obviously you're very open to get an arrow in your face and then the team fight starts and you die instantly. That's where Tahm Kench comes in once again. So we might actually see the Skarner pull back that Tahm Kench when he's eating KurO or or Prey, and then kill both of them.
Yeah, I think that's honestly the idea they're going for, but that gets blocked a little bit by the Veigar pick, because if KurO is very patient with his event horizon, he can basically wait for Skarner to run in, and even if you pull him for a suppress, you're still trapping him in there as far as being able to get out of the cage. This has been his pick against Riven.
A challenge has been issued, and Riven is the answer. We all wanted this matchup to happen, and there's split opinions on who should win when it comes to players and when it comes to champions.
There's been a perception in this world that it hasn't been about 1v1s or out playing each other in lane. That is what the entire top lane has been about here at Worlds, especially in Fiora and Riven matchups, because it completely depends on the mind games between Riposte and the 2 CCs that Riven has to throw out. That is it. Not to mention the jungler pressure, the rest of the other pressure, but we will most likely see a solo kill with these two guys in this game.
Especially also because we're seeing two junglers who prefer to not be too active before that level 6 mark anyway, especially the Skarner on the side of Fnatic. So we might not get a whole lot of help for Huni up in that top lane. He's on his own. I'm more looking at Fnatic with this 2v2 lane on the bottom side, the Ashe into the Kalista, heavy CC lane. You run teleport now on Febiven as well. We just talked about how him on control mages, it gives Fnatic more ways of playing outside of just we gotta go and assassinate people all the time and we have to play super aggressive. They have late game insurance now as well. I'm looking for them to also try and make some plays around this bottom lane once Huni gets rolling.
Well, let's see if Huni can get rolling.
If he gets rolling, I think.
The Riven versus Fiora matchup has happened once before, and it was Huni's Riven that was victorious. Will that hold true against Smeb's Fiora, which is significantly stronger
it was against
than
KurO.
his previous opponent?
And KurO misplayed that matchup so badly already from level 2. Smeb won't make the same mistake.
Let's find out as we load up for game 2. The hope of Europe and the Western LCS Fnatic on the red side against Korea's KurO Tigers. Margin Boo's been swapped out for the Golden God of Zac. And Reignover is going to be playing around these crystal spires. Let's see how well Fnatic handle themselves, because this is a jungler we've not seen in Europe since Diamond ran it a very, very, very long time ago.
Even before he got changed. Honestly, Reignover's put in a lot of practice on Skarner. It was one of his main champions in Korean solo queue, and it's interesting that he falls back onto the Skarner instead of the Olaf, when Olaf would have been able to run through the Veigar stuns, but I do like the idea against the Tahm Kench of still punishing him after he gobbles up an AD carry. This game is really fascinating right now. I also think it's super bold that Febiven is gone teleport against the Veigar, because if he eats an Event Horizon stun, he is completely dead. There's a lot to go on in this game.
Well, it's one of these problems for an Azir, and you have. I look at it this way: when it comes to the late game, would he stay alive anyway if he ran like barrier heal? No, he would have to run cleanse them against KurO, and I think that is an okay option. But right now, what Fnatic is aiming to do is trying to match that global pressure KurO brought in game 1 and say, you know what, that was a big problem. Let's try and fix it.
I want to see how Rekkles handles himself with that Hawk shot. Something that Prey has shown when he does play Ashe is proficiency not only with landing the Enchanted Crystal Arrow almost perfectly, and also keeping track of his opponent's jungler. So let's see how Rekkles makes use of that ability once he ranks it up.
I want to see what Huni and Reignover was doing as well. They just took a camp together. They give level 2 to Huni. Normally what happens is you go down and give a few hits to the red buff, but you make sure that Huni doesn't take too much damage, because you want him to run into the top lane. You don't want him to recall and use his teleport, because what's going to happen now, and you can see Smeb is doing exactly the same on the bottom side, is you save that TP. So in case the enemy top lane had used his to make sure the jungler got a better start, had to use a potion less, you had that massive TP advantage for more potions and so on later on, which is very important. So both top laners are being set up for success right now with this start.
And neither of these junglers are going to be doing an early game gank. That much is for certain. We did see some teams before Worlds would actually sacrifice others so the jungler could have faster item spike, go invade the enemy jungler, but with this specific matchup of champions, it's the smart play to give their top laners the edge.
But it's such a fascinating one-on-one, because so many small things will be super important. One thing is that when Smeb activates his E, he gets that slow on the first attack and then the crit on the second one. The first slow even reduces attack speed. So it's very hard for Riven to do Q, auto attack, Q, auto attack, Q. It turns into basically just spamming Q straight up because your attack speed slows so much. So it's very hard to trade one-on-one. Also, the riposte against the Riven. If Riven goes for the third Q, the very long animation,
It's almost always riposte.
it's so easy to riposte for Smeb, then he wins the trade. So a lot of Riven players won't even use that third one. And they'll just like use 2 and then bounce out. So it's very, very tricky between these two guys.
Huni's already falling behind. He's used that potion. Every time we look up, Smeb is finding a way to hit that vital, keep the sustain up. Saying even in relevant on farm, but Huni's wave will push away from him in the not too distant future. And let's see how Huni plays it. We can see the Reignover already making his way towards the top lane.
There's a chance Huni... Ooh, that was a nice Q3 by Huni. There's a chance he has to use a teleport early in this lane, or he needs early jungle pressure. If a counter gank were to arrive at this moment, if Reignover actually does attempt this, it could be disastrous. This is kind of a Hojin special. Smeb is up early, he gets into lane brush, and he waits there for a minute and waits for the counter gank. But because of the way the recalls are coming in, I think Smeb called him off.
So we do see though in the mid lane why Febiven wanted this Azir. He wants to constantly try and push in this mid lane over and over and over. We looked at him as a better mid laner than KurO, at least in the laning phase. And that's what he's going to try and take advantage of. But bottom lane as well, when there's a Tahm Kench, it turns into a farm lane. It's very, very difficult to make any aggressive plays because he will just eat that AD carry or he will be super tanky himself, so you can't really kill anyone.
Wow, he's going to be at farm lane you talked about. Very small advantage for Rekkles. Hojin is going to pick a fight with Reignover over this Crystal Spire. Charge the slingshot, and Reignover says, nope, that one is mine, and will reclaim it.
Skarner is very strong when he gets close to you.
Yeah.
That is a fact of this game.
That was one of the things with how you can invade in if your mid laner is pushing, because Skarner 1v1, he is strong, especially against a Zac who's just going to be like, what, am I going to blob on you with my E and do nothing?
He's already done like half as much
Great
damage as the
riposte from Smeb. He will, however, get stunned, and all of a sudden, Huni turns it back around, forcing Smeb to blow his flash.
That's really big, especially since Reignover's already doing the jungle invading. Hojin's going to have to be fairly careful early on in the matchup.
And again, we see the strategy for Fnatic, always making sure Reignover can play aggressive, has a jungler he can outduel the enemy with, have a mid laner who's shoving the wave. So it's a good setup right now for Fnatic, but it was the same in game 1, even though they were just even faster and had even more aggressive lanes. That was not what won Fnatic the game, because they didn't win.
Nothing.
Funny enough, nothing won in the game. But it wasn't what lost in the game either, it was the bad calls late.
Now, Huni and Smeb again going toe-to-toe. They're not going to find the follow-up vital. Falling a little bit behind in CS, but the wave is pushing towards him. And luckily some info on Hojin's jungle path means that Huni's got some free time up here.
You know how people used to have like best Riven NA? I feel like it's more exciting to watch Fiora versus Riven. They should just have like a bracket of Fiora against Riven players. I love this matchup.
Make it a best of 3.
He's level 6 here, and they know they have to flash down. But Smeb is also level 6, which makes this super dangerous.
There's a grand challenge available. KurO TP to middle, as did Febiven, so there's no support elsewhere. Gentlemen,
it's all about
first
the
tower
riposte
dive. Fnatic are 10 for 10 when it comes to securing first bloods. They're looking for number 11. Reignover forced to flash away. Tower shot will not be enough to kill him, nor will...
Reignover's got...
This it. Look at KurO, who's coming up through the jungle. Huni still wants to get it. He's going to be in so much trouble, and Reignover fires the fracture. That was so close.
Just by Huni moving a bit closer to Smeb on the way out, he threatened a potential second dive, and Smeb was like, okay, I can't risk it. And therefore he couldn't kill Reignover, who just snuck by the tower, but that was so risky by Fnatic.
From the look of it, Smeb blocked the right amount of CC, and then Huni wasn't able to combo properly because he was stunned himself, so he couldn't get the quick burst out on Riven. Still keeps the CS advantage. It costs Reignover his jungle edge in order to do that game.
And his flash down as well. Rekkles probably get eaten by Gorilla. No?
Not yet. He's not quite tasty enough until now.
Close.
Gorilla will get knocked up and knocked back. He's flashing away. Grey health will get popped. It is decaying. Prey is stacking up those Rens onto YellOwStaR. Summoner heal's been used. 250 HP. And both Flash and Exhaust down from Gorilla. Fnatic, they get the 2v2.
Yeah, they burn a lot of summer spells. I actually feel like if Rekkles was feeling aggressive, he would have flashed for that kill on Gorilla, but he was afraid of a counter gank. He didn't have eyes completely on Hojin, I'm pretty sure, because with the shield going down, this is also why he saves his flash, just in case.
Wow, Rekkles sidesteps the elastic slingshot, and he will be able to make it out.
This is what I really like about Rekkles and YellOwStar's lane. They know their job in most Fnatic games is being utility AD carry. So flashing forward for a kill, yes, it might look good on paper, you get that one kill for yourself, but it means you can probably get ganked right after, and then Hojin suddenly gets 2 kills or 1 kill and a dragon for his team. So it's not really worth it in that sense, and I like that Rekkles just stays back and even dodges around.
This is actually dangerous. Huni is still up by his turret, and Febiven stunning himself.
Febiven's in trouble. Reignover's got the blue buff, but now he's been challenged by Smeb, and Huni's a long way away. The challenge has been popped. First blood to KurO and double buffs.
You have no flash.
Massive for Veigar to get double buffs. Reignover doesn't have flash, and he can make that play if Huni is with him. Huni has the 1v1 edge, so to speak, on a Smeb, but there is a large minion wave at his turret. You can make that invade on the blue buff if the waves are pushed. Reignover again overreaches and again is punished.
As safe as Rekkles and YellOwStaR can play in the bottom lane, some of that needs to go over to Reignover soon. Because, yes, he's making some good plays, but too often, he wants too much. And honestly, it's fine sometimes playing simple League of Legends. You don't have to always go in and make that massive outplay, constantly tower dive the enemy team. You can play it fairly safe because you're right now winning both soul lanes. But now you just gave double buff over to the enemy mid laner. That's not going to help Febiven one bit.
It really will not. And if Huni continues this path forward,
Huni also
charge.
has no flash. And Zach has amazing gank pass. Let's see if Huni respects this.
Oh, there's so much threat here for Huni.
He's afraid of Reignover potentially sitting in that bush. Normally a top laner will not be this aggressive with no summoners in pushing out a big wave unless he has his jungler right behind him, ready to join in.
Thank you, observers. You can see the hawk shot flying over the Sentinel, giving Fnatic some information throughout the jungle.
Flies through the whole map. When you're in the right position on Ashe, you can shoot it to every single jungle camp, which kind of, even if you don't see the jungle with it, tells you where the jungler should be.
Process of elimination. And
it's an immensely powerful skill, highly underrated.
well, we'll give it the attention it deserves, Jad.
You know how Clairvoyance used to see one spot on the map? It sees the entire enemy jungle on cooldown.
RIP Clairvoyance. So 1-0 in terms of kills. Fnatic still hold a minor gold lead, thanks to the CS advantages for both Huni and Febiven. Reignover's got access to his Impale, and his flash is about 15% away from being available.
I'd like to see Fnatic right now get a few pink wards down on the map to set up this scanner so he can go in for that one play once he has flash, grab a target, and you can burst him down very effectively, especially with the Riven up on top side. But it's very hard for him to path right now because there's been so many wards from to spot it. He does manage to sneak around up top here. Can make his way into the second one, and now suddenly Smeb is going to be like, I have no jungle help, so I'm not going to push it out like Huni did before, because I'm going to play it safe.
Very early advantages were to Smeb, the lower levels, but as Huni has started to scale up, seems to be finding the stuns and dancing around the riposts.
Dangerous counter jungle.
Oh, this could be trouble. Chanted Crystal Arrow is available. YellOwStar's going to say no. It's about sending a message, gentlemen. This is my jungle, my camp, and my gold.
Every single game, Hojin falls really far behind the curve. YellOwStaR is a higher level than Hojin right now, even after that Gromp steal.
But I'm a believer. KurO Tigers play from behind. It's their style, Jack.
It actually is. This is the way they play League of Legends. It is somehow working.
Perplexing.
In this day and age.
I think perplexing is a great word.
But at the same time, with this team composition, Fiora and Veigar, and Zach actually is a good late game jungle champion, they're pretty happy with this current set of circumstances.
All right, Huni gonna pick a fight once more with Smeb. In Grand Challenge throws down. Smeb flashes away from the third proc of the Broken Wings. Huni will find a stun, but fails the flash. And Smeb will be smiling with that one.
Remember the solo kill we talked about that was probably going to happen in this game? It was right there, but it could have been outplayed by Huni. He had his flash when Smeb did not. He dashed towards the wall, but he fail flashed the thickest wall in the game, that when the pressure is on, we see players miss. If you no pressure, you make that flash every single time. But Huni after losing that game 1, makes another mistake in game 2.
And again, we keep highlighting how important it is for Fnatic to keep pushing those 2 solo lanes. Right now, you had a kill for Veigar in the mid lane because of Reignover's invader on blue buff. You have a kill top lane now for Smeb and Fiora. KurO is in a way better situation than last game, where they did outplay Fnatic in the later stages of the game. They look to do exactly the same, just not fall as far behind.
Yeah, and we have to see how Fnatic responds to this situation. In the past, Huni has been known to tilt after making a mistake. They already lost the first game, which puts your mental edge on, puts your mentality on a little bit of an edge. Here, failing a flash over the wall in a matchup he should be winning, how much does Huni want to make up for that play right now? Because in the past, he has overcompensated and fallen into a giant pit of tilt. But we'll see. They're still close in this game, and they still have a composition which can win.
Well, both teams are in a situation where they can't really force any ganks because there have been so little vision in the enemy jungle. So they don't know where, if Skarner is hiding somewhere, if Zach is hiding somewhere to counter gank. There's no teleports available at the moment, so if you want to make a jungle gank, this is the time. But once again, because Reignover got burned before with the blue buff, he's not been invading since. He needs to get in there now and get a ward down at least in the opening of KurO's jungle. YellOwStaR's doing the same to try and see, okay, can we spot the jungler and pull off again? Because if Zach shows topside, you can gank that bottom lane. You have double CC, you have an YellOwStaR to tower dive. It's obviously difficult against a Tahm Kench, but it might be one of the plays you can pull off. You can see Hojin sitting ready to counter gank, as we just talked about. He doesn't want to go aggressive because he has no idea of where Reignover is, unless you spot him on that one ward near Raptor.
Well, also, Huni's not giving him the opportunity. So Huni is not trying to make up for the death he just suffered, and instead is playing very passive. But with the range on Zach's Elastic Slingshot, he's only level 7. He spent a lot of time hiding in a brush. How patient is Huni actually in this lane?
Oh, let's take a look. That Slingshot was being charged, but YellOwStaR's the man that's in a little bit of trouble. Gorillas pop that Grey Health shield. Hojin will get some of the cooldown back. Huni is dancing with death. Will dash out. And still so close. Hojin's
Such a
waiting.
patient bait right here, because you would expect him to jump in after that last play. Huni's still suspicious, though.
And Huni makes that alive.
Can we just give full credit to Huni in this case here? Normally, he would have gone all in for that one-on-one against Smeb. Said, I'll get it back, man. I died before. I will get a revenge kill. But here, he played it super safe because his own jungler's on the bottom side, taking that dragon. So he knows... close enough.
Good smite from Reignover.
But he knew, okay, there was no backup for him. He just had to sit super far back and wait. Let his team make some plays on the bottom side of the map. I still want to see them use this YellOwStaR and Ashe to create a pick.
Needs to get back up eventually, though, because with that play top lane, they do get
Go for mid lane then.
That's the
There we go.
YellOwStaR flashes the baby cage, knocks KurO into Reignover's waiting hands, and Febiven sends the soldiers for the kill.
The ultimate displacement from behind your mid turret to the middle of the lane. Nothing KurO can do to stop that one. Good counterplay by Fnatic.
They did lose their tower top while securing middle, and Huni's gonna get funneled that big wave.
But there's one other place Fnatic could make away from Huni. That's again when Fnatic run compositions where they can make plays on the bottom side, they tend to not rely 100% on Huni snowballing his lane. So even if he does fall behind, you can make a play elsewhere. They had controlling bottom side because Zach was sitting top, great invade in. Very little you can do as a mid laner when they're coming between 2 towers and knocking you so far back into the lane. You can't just abandon that because then you will lose tower anyway. So KurO left in an impossible situation. Fnatic gets at least a tower.
Well, still keeping themselves relevant as far as Fnatic are concerned. They got that first dragon as well, so it'll give them a little bit of an edge as the game continues to progress. And Rekkles was left alone in that mid lane. Praying Gorilla shoved the wave up, but Rekkles has played far enough back to not be a threat of anything else. His tower only lost 10% of its hit points, so starting to see the Ashe build up towards an Infinity Edge, starting to slowly gain more and more strength.
And honestly, I want to see Fnatic continue to play around this bottom side of the map. Zach is not going to duel the Skarner in the one-on-one. YellOwStaR is very safe support to invade with as well because of his ulti, his natural tankiness, obviously. So you can go into this bottom side jungle of KurO and take control of it. Meaning that KurO, sitting on his Veigar in mid lane with no tier 1 tower now, he has to sit a tier 2 tower and wait for minions. That gives full mid control for Fnatic, and then you can set up a dive on the bottom side.
And I will also say, the emphasis is on Fnatic to make a play. Because KurO, they have a game plan. We're pretty sure how they're going to execute it. Smeb is going to be split pushing. They're going to try and group with the rest of the team. And the siege potential with Veigar is awesome. But Fnatic has picked Huni. If he can somehow outplay Smeb, he can block that. When they group up as a team, when KurO groups up as a team, Fnatic would try and initiate with an Ash Arrow. It is going to be KurO kind of executing their game plan and making Fnatic make the play, in which KurO has been able to punish in the past. It will be more on Fnatic's execution, in my opinion.
I really like this from Reignover, getting into that jungle now, plays towards Febiven. He's gonna have to be careful, he's getting out for now.
Wow, Febiven makes it out, and they commit KurO's flash, as well as the Abyssal Voyage. That was a lot.
It was a 5-man gank and a flash on their most priority member in teamfights. That was way too much. This is kind of the reason KurO doesn't make plays very often.
And this exact same thing happened against KT Rolster, where KurO invested so much, but it didn't work out.
I just really like Fnatic's focus on this bottom side. I know I keep repeating it.
It's because they haven't done it a lot.
They see the gank happening, and also what happens here is Febiven had already killed the wave all the way down to the tier 2 tower of KurO Tigers, so even though he was forced out of the lane, there was no minions for KurO Tigers to just push to take mid tower. They'd be like, oh, the minion's already dead. Well, we're not going to get anything dead to run out, end up losing everything. Fnatic had control of the side, they spotted happening, and this control Fnatic reminds me more of how SK Telecom likes to play against KurO Tigers. It's not the, oh, let's 5-on-5, just randomly tower dive and go super crazy all the time. No, we're going to try and match some of the things KurO Tigers do well. We just remove the mistakes, because KurO Tigers plays around you making mistakes and then punishing you. If you play like this, it's very hard for them to do that.
Let's see if they can keep it up, though.
Yeah, and the biggest example of that is Huni suffering the first blood death, but then staying
Unkilled further.
Right? He has not tilted at all here. I also like his build path this game, because his previous games on Riven, he didn't go Tiamat. He instead went for Bloodthirster for some of the survivability. But it's so much more important to be able to have that quick burst of damage against someone who can riposte in your combos, and I love the iteration.
And the playing around bot lane will now make it top lane.
Hojin
Rekkles has moved
set
up.
Though. Hojin is absolutely set up for this play.
They did chase him out the jungle, though, so Reignover and YellOwStaR will be aware.
How many legs does Skana have?
This one, none. It's
This one, none.
tank
Okay,
tracks.
okay, that's why he doesn't have boots. Okay, that makes sense now for Reignover. The way I look at Skana is he's a champion who needs mobility. He needs movement speed.
That was a joke.
It was. I'm sorry.
See,
Yeah.
it caught me off guard because I didn't know you could make jokes, Fisher.
I didn't know either.
Thank you. That was fantastically rewarded. Now I get why Freak does it all the time.
Yeah.
So
Still, get some boots, man.
Yeah, I think tank boots is the right way to go. I actually want him to build Mercury Treads during this game, because he will be having to run through event horizons at some point during this game, and the magic resistance is actually one of his most stacked resources. I think if Fiora tries to kill him, he'll have an opportunity to ult Fiora and instead pull that in, so I think Smeb's going to keep his fair distance from Reignover. I think Mercury Treads should be his next item.
teleports are up for all 4 players that currently have it available, and Rekkles hung about in that bush for a little while longer. That top outer turret for KurO is very, very low on HP, and things are just starting to feel a little edgy and nervous up here.
Well,
Still, Hojin is reading the situation correct. He's always nearby. Same in the last game. So when that massive gank could happen, he's waiting.
and KurO has the setup with the double teleport, so they're pushing their mid and bottom lane, and they want to teleport. This time, though, Fnatic also has the double teleport, and they recognize not to dive under the turret for this play. Instead, they're just playing it patiently and trying to punish Hojin for waiting for the aggression.
Double warding trinkets for both Huni and Reignover as well, upgraded already. We've seen them move into KurO's jungle to place wards multiple times. Rekkles and Yellow, they really want to get this last tower. It's a couple of hits away, but this is quite risky. Gorilla's being chunked and Praise going forward. Teleport's coming in here for KurO Tigers as YellOwStaR throws up the Unbreakable. Rekkles will find the Ash Arrow onto KurO, but it will not be enough. 2 members of Fnatic down at the cost of 2 teleports for KurO, and KurO are not stopping.
Credit to KurO there for turning aggressive, not reacting to Fnatic. In that sense, Fnatic then had to react with both teleports, so a completely lost play for Fnatic. KurO gets the big play by catching out Rekkles and YellOwStaR.
One of the very annoying things to play against double teleport.
It's also Veigar. You got to be careful under these turrets.
Or he can stun them up and maybe kill Reignover.
Reignover's down! KurO gets the kill and will secure another tower.
But one of the problems when playing against double teleport is you don't know how many guys it's going to turn up. You see the animation. I'm not sure if Fnatic were trying to say, hey, we can maybe counter teleport here, because there's still 2 flashes up for Rekkles and YellOwStaR. They stayed around for a long time. YellOwStaR maybe was just to sacrifice himself, saying he was going to get slowed down anyway. But then suddenly 2 guys appear, both Smeb and KurO. And Fnatic is too late to the party. 2 kills and a tower.
And once again, KurO punish Fnatic to regain the lead.
Yeah, let's see again what happens.
They ping Skarner, and then they know to go aggressive here because honestly, it's completely on the double TP coordination. They thought it would be 1, it was actually 2. Rekkles got the Ash Arrow. The second teleport cancels the first teleport's animation, which is why Rekkles didn't have the right timing on Smeb jumping in, and it's actually why the Ash Arrow didn't hit. So really, the double teleport on the same ward is my favorite use of the double teleport, and it works out for me.
We'll give them another tower. 5 kills to 1, but Fnatic, you have to praise farming from Huni and Febiven, keeping gold very, very even. 300 difference between the top laners, 100 difference between mid laners, and that was a little close again, but Smite secures it.
We've seen this one before. Frey tries to steal it. Doesn't have the greatest amount of damage due to his low amount of AD though, when it comes to finding away that spear. Meanwhile though, Fnatic, once again, are in this situation where they really want to try and pick someone off, but because you're against double teleport and a Tahm Kench, it becomes almost impossible because there's so many ways for KurO Tigers to buy time and then counter gang it. So even though Fnatic has great tools to find that one pick, they haven't been able to use it. And they were just waiting almost for KurO Tigers to make an aggressive play, which is funny enough something KurO Tigers have done before. When they're pushed all the way back, they try and go for that double TP to turn it around and buy some time.
This time it works, and for Fnatic, that flawless style of play comes into a little bit of question. It wasn't exactly a game-changing move, but Fnatic are still showing they really want this last outer turret. They moved 4 people up towards the top, and they've got a lot of vision around Baron.
And something that is really in the favor of KurO Tigers is the fact that KurO is at plus 191 on his stacking of ability power, and he's currently sitting at 600 AP. Pretty soon he's going to be able to press 2 buttons on Febiven and kill him dead.
This is in trouble. Reignover and YellOwStaR, they've got caught out. Unbreakable Will's being used, and Hojin is trying to bounce all up in Rekkles' face. Smeb is put the challenge down, but look at Huni. He gets obliterated by KurO. Reignover's in trouble. Baron Pit is where YellOwStar's trying to escape. He's forced to flash over the wall. 5v2 now. Baron is alive and may be able to get some hits down onto Smeb and Hojin. Fate's Call will be thrown onto Febiven, and Febiven finds the kill, but the Event Horizon locks him in place, and Prey will shut him down. Another sacrifice to stop Baron, but Fnatic again caught out of position.
KurO 100% to zeroed Huni there, and he doesn't have Void Staff yet. Mind you, Huni has gone for cooldown boots, so if he gets hit by an Event Horizon, he has signed his own death certificate, because it will be crushed there by the Veigar. It's a flank fight. I think Fnatic was actually pretty happy with this one. They didn't have vision on the Veigar, and also he didn't see that Event Horizon, otherwise he wouldn't have walked into it. Boom, instantly killed. That then turns into a 4v5, and then it's actually on.
Sure.
It's on Febiven at this point to salvage.
Very, very classic situation though, where you're running to a team fight and you're looking at the fight and not your own character. So even if something happens around you, you don't have the time to dodge it. Get stunned, ends up dying for it, but really, a Veigar who got to just sit and farm and farm and farm. Jad, you talked about it just before. He's like 616 AP. He got ranked to ulti as well. So KurO has hit the point where he can one-shot basically everyone on the side of Fnatic.
This is how you push. This is what they want to be able to do this game. It forces Fnatic into having to initiate, and they have 2 QSSs as well already.
It's so much more difficult for Fnatic when Reignover cannot even pull somebody in. Luckily, for Fnatic, Gorilla on that Tahm Kench does not have it yet, but we've seen supports pick up QSSs in the past.
I think it's good on Tahm Kench. If it is in a situation where you feel like you're going to get CC so you can't save a carry, I think QSS is perfectly fine to build on him. But Fnatic, again, they keep looking for that one pick. But because Tahm Kench is also in the game, if it's not landed on him, he will eat that guy. And that guy will then get out.
So KurO secure themselves another tower. Hojin is charging up the slingshot, and YellOwStar's gone forward. Rekkles is in trouble. He's got no flash, but he's managed to back away. The Dark Matter drops and tags Fnatic. Arise the Sun Disk is what Febiven yells. There's something to fall back to, but Smeb is trying to fight Huni on the backline. Gorilla's grey health will keep him alive a little while longer, long enough to take out Rekkles. Huni looks for one back, doesn't find it. Double kill for Prey as Huni gets one on the way out onto KurO. 2 for 3.
That fight was all started because of preemptive usage of Event Horizon. That is a spell pretty much everyone is playing around in this matchup. KurO used it. It didn't hit anyone. In the instant it expired, Fnatic decided to jump in for the fight. That was a really back and forth fight, and Febiven nearly peeled off as much as he could for Fnatic. And because he died, basically while channeling his last soldier auto attack, it turned what could have been 4 deaths on KurO's side to a 1 fight.
Because you just see how Fnatic always trying to focus one target together with the Ashe, with the Azir. But then what's going to happen is Gorilla is going to stay so far forward. Nobody wants to hit him because he's just an annoying time Ken job in the front line. So he eats Hojin, make sure he doesn't die in the start of the fight, and he gets picked up by Prey. And notice how well they coordinate this one. There's 2 carries from Fnatic standing next to each other, down on the bottom and just outside of your screen. Smeb obviously playing well on top, but those 2 carries get locked up. Again, it's Gorilla in the front line, making sure his carries can get in there, deal the damage they need to win the fight for his team. And it's so difficult for Fnatic to kill this front line because it's a Zac with his passive and it's a Tahm Kench.
For Fnatic, keep running out of options. Great play by Smeb's Fiora, 1, 0, and 8. They actually riposted so much damage in that previous fight. KurO've got control of the Baron Pit. They've got wards all around. And teleport advantage to Fnatic as Huni has his, whereas Smeb does not. That's why Huni's probably pushing out that bottom line.
Yeah, still only 4 kills being able to get manufactured by Fnatic. KurO is doing a much better job this game of maintaining their early game, and now they get to absolutely execute their strategy, especially once KurO gets to Void Staff. I think Fnatic's window will close.
Huni probably has to get like a Hexdringer or something that maybe could save him. If he gets his own shield and a Hexdringer proc to avoid getting one-shot by KurO, otherwise he will have no impact in these fights.
Well, Hawkshot sees it.
They're going in for Fnatic. There might be the chance for them to turn it around.
Crystal Arrow does connect onto Smeb. The Event Horizon will lock Fnatic up. They've got
Time
Baron.
to fight.
They've got Baron indeed. Teleport's being channeled by Huni and Fnatic. They need to get something back. YellOwStaR flashes forward, gets the knockup, but Hojin jumps back in. The Event Horizons come back off cooldown and has once again locked Fnatic out. YellOwStar's already down, as is Huni. KurO are looking for a rampage. Gorilla jumps forward. He manages to find another as Smeb's running down Febiven. Fnatic get aced and lose the Baron.
And we see the same things again. Fnatic trying to kill the front line, Tahm Kench, and of course the Zac. They end up helping each other. Gorilla eats, Hojin spits him out, and then Smeb also in these fights.
Smeb is so good.
He's so good in team
He is
fight
waiting
on this portal.
exactly for the moment where he is most vulnerable, and then he is stopping the damage. That's the master Fiora players are the ones who can do this. Massive death timers off Fnatic. That was the trigger Fnatic had to pull. They didn't have a better ward for Huni to jump in on, and KurO knew it. So KurO took that fight exactly as Fnatic was going to have to react, and they make it work.
Fnatic is losing the war when it comes to the carry sitting in the backline dealing damage because against the Veigar who can just one-shot these targets and has this massive AoE CC stun. At the same time, Huni's not able to find a flank on the Riven. That's the way you can get in and kill the Veigar or kill the Kalista. He's not able to do it. Again, let's just ignore the fact that Tahm Kench could potentially even save whatever carry that is and stop it from happening. So KurO Tiger's pick and ban phase, first picking that for Gorilla, banning out junglers and so on, was really, really smart. Notice again in the fight, Fnatic, they have to sit back here and hit the front line over and over. No ward for Huni to teleport to flank. So now KurO Tigers is in the perfect situation. As long as Prey doesn't get knocked back and dies here, Hojin takes the damage. Gorilla is gonna eat him so he doesn't die. Okay, again, buy more time. Riposte coming in for Smeb at a beautiful time. And we just have KurO sitting on full HP still, picking whatever targets he wants, throw it back in Gorilla when needed, and you have that massive CC coming.
They get themselves 2 inhibitors, the Baron, their first dragon of the game, and KurO Tigers are in a commanding position to close this game out. Smeb got a GA picked up, but he riposted the Skarner ultimate in the mid lane earlier. He riposted a ton of damage in the Baron pit. And KurO Tigers are now barreling down the last remaining inhibitor. Event Horizon should make this easy as pie.
Yep.
And the tower's already down.
There's also no flash on YellOwStar's YellOwStaR to find the right initiation. They're trying to poke as much as possible. Honestly, if KurO rushes this, it's Fnatic's only real chance. KurO should be super patient here. Sundisk burn, that was going to be used by Febiven if the dive were to happen. Now KurO's just going to smartly set up the split push with Smeb. And if that Event Horizon catches a single person, the game is over. The game may be over even if that doesn't happen.
Well, it certainly seems to be that case. Super Minions already pushing towards the Nexus turrets with the help of Smeb. Huni, wow, he just gets chunked down. He's going to throw out the QSS and it's going to have broken wings away, but Smeb has got so much damage. The Sundisk is out. The last remaining inhibitor is being dropped. Fnatic are on their last legs. Their backs cannot get further up against the wall.
Yeah, I think that was actually a missed opportunity. The riposte was burned by Smeb and Reignover was in flash ult range. He might have been able to get at least one kill and stop the push. Huni could have died there as well. Oh, Fnatic, 3 waves of super minions that KurO is patiently trying to push in, but Baron is down, so maybe it relands.
Ever the optimist, Jats. This is just a matter of time until KurO knock down these towers. Hojin is going to threaten with the elastic slingshot. Huni gets away from the Event Horizon, but Nexus turret number 1 is being dropped. Hojin doesn't even need to jump in. Rekkles has got the enchanted crystal arrow. He's not thrown it yet. Huni's looking for KurO, and he finds him, but at the cost of his own life. The Emperor's Divide will throw KurO backwards, and Prey's being tagged by the soldiers. Another Conquering Sands needs to get sent out. A nom 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 as Gorilla eats Smeb. Fiora's gonna get away. No GA popped, and Fnatic, they stand to fight another day with 1 Nexus turret remaining.
And you said it was over, quick shot.
You're the optimist, I'm the pessimist. That's how we balance out.
Yeah, it's still heavily in favor of KurO Tigers. 3 inhibitors down is something you almost never come back from. Although Fnatic did come back from 3 inhibitors down against AHQ in the group stage. Slightly different set of circumstances, though, Deficio.
Yeah. I mean, Febiven has done it before. He's trying his best to do it again, but this fight really was Huni finally getting a flash onto one of the carries from KurO Tigers. Gorilla wasn't nearby to save KurO, and he ends up dying, and therefore they trade 1-for-1. Now that flash is gone for Fnatic, and they're still in this situation where super minions are coming every single lane.
Round 2 approaching. KurO looking to go up 2-0. This would be so huge for them.
This is why you bring in Froggen, though, if you're Fnatic. It's like, just kill these minions, man. Just farm, 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 farm.
The emergency sub.
That is your only way.
Oh, Huni.
Huni's in so much trouble. He's got no flash either. Valor will give some distance, but KurO isn't going to channel the Event Horizon until now. Febiven's caught out and he's been bounced on by Hojin. Impale's been used, and Fnatic have managed to find Prey. Now Gorilla's too far forward. KurO's going to fall. Huni's got himself a double kill. Gorilla's trying to run away. Reignover is going to get the movement speed from his W and try to chase him down. Fnatic have held strong one more time.
Hawk shots him.
Reignover wants to get him. Gotta land the skill shot.
Well, it's gonna put that chilling smite down. Reignover's gonna carry on chasing with the crystalline exoskeleton.
Oh,
longest chase ever.
He lives.
And Gorilla gets out.
Fnatic again, though. KurO Tigers move close. They want to kill that last Nexus turret. And Fnatic get a few more kills, again, onto the carries of the KurO Tigers. So, the beautiful team fighting where they were sitting so far back and making it impossible for Fnatic to kill them. Twice in a row now. Didn't work for KurO Tigers.
KurO Tigers make a series of mistakes there. I think they were impatient. They did not need to fight that as early as possible. Azir is actually the best champion in the game at clearing 3 waves of super minions because his soldiers can hit so many of them at once. But even then, 3 waves of super minions in 32 minutes should take all of Febiven's time, and if you're just waiting until he's focusing the super minions, you can then find the fight. But KurO pushed up a little bit too far, twice in a row, and now have to wait on the next Baron.
Fnatic optimized the farming. Coming in with 3 lanes, pushing. You can see every single member for Fnatic is ahead in farm, even YellOwStaR. Is it enough, though, for Fnatic to move out now? They have to win this fight around the Baron, where they're walking into a river with 0 vision from the side of Fnatic.
Is the only tool that they can use.
And KurO can one-shot basically everyone.
KurO's got plus 300 AP at this stage. His Primordial Burst deals 1,500 damage before factoring in your opponent's AP. Hawkshot number 1, fired. Hawkshot number 2, fired as well.
KurO needs to have a fight where he's able to use his spells. If that happens, I think KurO gets the game. Fnatic is going to try and stop that from happening, though. KurO actually pretty low from the Baron start. Will Fnatic actually turn on Baron?
Teleports come in here for Huni.
They have to because the Super's in the other lane.
They're going to see how long can they time play this out. KurO and Smeb do not have TPs. Baron has now been started by Fnatic. They're trying to chunk it down. It's about 2/3 HP. KurO are looking to re-engage. The Asher is available. Baron secured by Fnatic, and Hojin's locked out. They've caught Smeb. Smeb's GA's been popped. Reignover and Huni trying to run the distance. They're trying to interfere. Smeb is down. Shut down by Febiven. Event Horizon will stop this fight. 1-for-1 and Baron to Fnatic.
Are you kidding me? Fnatic pulls out a miraculous fight, 3 numbers down, and they save their last Nexus turret.
KurO tried to just wait and wait and wait for the super minions to take down the Nexus turret, but Fnatic rushed the Baron, got it as well, forced the fight. KurO were once again not able to properly set up their defense with this big front line because they have to rush into Fnatic. 2 dragons for 2. That's not going to be the big thing in this game, at least not for the next 20 minutes.
It is now a winnable game for Fnatic. Obviously, they have no base left, but their inhibitors are back up, so if they do not lose another fight, their base is never fully reached. This is the moment where KurO needs to settle and go back to the split push, but this fight, let's go over it.
So let's see again what KurO are trying to do. They get forced back very fun. Smeb is on his own now against 2 carries of Fnatic and goes down. YellOwStaR even gonna go in to try and help. And it's now Reignover and Huni creating a frontline for Fnatic that is taking up all the time of the carries.
And poor event horizons by KurO. He needs that spell to zone the team fights, but instead, Smeb is isolating himself against 2 other carries, and then he actually lost his GA within that fight.
There's still no defensive item for Rekkles though when it comes to avoiding getting one-shot by Veigar. So one mistake from him in a fight, and he's dead.
Huni's trying to catch that Crystalline Spire, does get it. Teleport's available for KurO in a few seconds. Gorilla almost gets chunked out by those Sand Soldiers. Will that be enough for the tower? It looks like it. And Fnatic will take their 4th tower of the game at 39 minutes. Now there's no margin for error. Not only are we 40 minutes in with no base to fall back to, Smeb and KurO can TP. If anything goes well, there's not deep wards. We've got to remember.
Rekkles is getting flashed very, very soon. Again, he has the BT. That's his only defense, but that's not enough against these 2 carries who wants to try and kill him. So he needs that flash ready, but he needs to be so far back that he can't hit the tower because of the zoning from Veigar.
There is no zonies and no cleanse on Febiven, so if KurO flashes, Qs, and ults, Febiven dies if those spells land. They have no margin for error on these pushes.
Fnatic have not had a margin at all. Smeb's off on the side, dancing with death in front of Reignover. Tower continues to get chunked out by those double. Can I take it back? They're dead.
One
not
dark
being
matter.
chunked.
He is at 1062 ability power as of now on Veigar, and it will only get higher, plus 311 on his Baleful Strike so far.
Minion wave down in the bottom lane, though, has no one to answer it. Thank you, observers. And Fnatic will still get some cross-map pressure.
Smeb is on his way. So there's 2 low towers now that Fnatic might be able to get in the next push, but Baron should be gone. So we kind of reset once again. We have that situation where Fnatic is looking to win 2 or 3 fights to make sure they can then close out the game, where KurO is waiting for that 1 team fight.
Right. I also think it depends very heavily on the location of the fight right now.
Oh, for sure, and how many dies.
If the line of scrimmage stays where it's at, because if we look at the concentration of wards, that tell us the locations of the wards tell us where the game is being played. And currently the game is actually being played in KurO territory, which is miraculous. So if that's where the next fight happens within the Division of Wards, which is what usually happens, one team fight for Fnatic does also win the game on their side.
Still just have to keep looking at 2 carries from Fnatic with no way of avoiding getting one shot by KurO. Veigar is one of the few champions with 2 abilities with 1.0 AP ratio. W and ulti.
I am amazed that KurO hasn't won the game yet. But fight after fight, 3 or 4 fights in a row, he has been ineffective on this champion. If Huni can flash, instantly burst him, like, he has the QSS and the Zonies this time. Yeah. But if they can at least delay the usage of his spells so he can't combo where he wants to, and if Reignover walks up with his giant tanky Skarner, I mean, he's still gonna die, but at least he would kill the Skarner, not a Squishy.
He does find Hojin.
The split push is key here. This is the way for KurO back in the game. They're resetting, and they're getting back to what got them here.
Huni can go up there, clear the wave though. Problem is the one-on-one against Fiora in the late game. Fiora probably outscales almost any champion when it comes to one-on-ones, except for random Trinity appearing or anything. Something we're not going to see, at least. Don't even know what happened.
The point is made though, Fisher. In this matchup,
Could Tryndamere win?
there's a question for the ages and one that we'll debate at a later date.
Yeah, Tryndamere can always.
1 minute and 40 seconds until Dragon respawns. The goal difference is now swung to the point that it is completely even. One more mistake from either squad could be game-changing. For KurO, it's the matter of being one Nexus away from a finals berth, and for Fnatic, it's just evening out the series. So the pressure is definitely on Fnatic, hometown squad. Crowd is at their back.
That's a
but
dangerous
also adds
recall.
weight.
I absolutely agree, Quickshot. The gravity of this situation is massive. Spectre's Cal completed, Febiven close to Zhonya's Hourglass, but it's not a Banshee's Veil and it's not a Zhonya's. Those are the items Fnatic actually needs to have an offensive position in this game, but at the same time, they've won many team fights in a row without those items.
KurO Tigers definitely overextended with their carries. I'm sure they've been talking about that for the last 5 minutes now. How are we going to approach the next team fight? Are we going to wait for Baron? Make that same play we tried to make before, where we force Fnatic to walk in at the river, and this Event Horizon can basically almost cover the entire river placed by KurO and zone out the team, and then we take the Baron that way. The only reason they waited last time was because they had the super minions pushing on the bottom side. They thought they could take down a Nexus turret, and then Fnatic pulled the trick and went straight for Baron.
Gentlemen, Hourglass completed for Febiven. Wards in the mid lane behind Fnatic, and Fnatic wards in the river if KurO decide to go for Dragon. But with Dragon in 20, Baron in 40, that is the objective. And again, if Fnatic are out of position, they can bounce back.
Yeah, KurO's 2 wards within the base of Fnatic are awesome right here, but this positioning,
This is scary.
lead for some fights. Event Horizon down, but it's in a nice zone, so Fnatic can't actually push through it. They need to come with a pink ward in their base or something to stop this flank, because if Fnatic goes in for the Baron here, there's a chance Smeb actually just teleports in and kills all 3 inhibitors. They don't even need KurO to go in. Smeb just has to find Fnatic in a committed place, and because how quickly Fiora can kill inhibitors, he'll get all 3.
I don't think there's ever been a team that has had this many dances with Nexuses as Fnatic.
I want to see in this team fight here if YellOwStaR says, I'm going to one-on-one KurO. Because we might not be able to kill him with QSS and Hourglass, but if YellOwStaR can headbutt him away, keep him busy, way back, save his own carries, that might be enough. They're going in now.
Febiven's in trouble. He's been bounced up, exhausted, and he's down. That's the last hope for Fnatic. Reignover's running away as Smeb zoning it. Rekkles has got his shield pop, knocked up as YellOwStaR kicks him away. Rekkles goes down. Double kill for Bray. Reignover and Huni trying to get out, and Smeb still alive. The riposte will apply the slow. The knockup from Hojin Zap. And with Fnatic's base exposed, KurO Tigers find themselves another kill. Killing spree for Prey, and they're going for the Nexus.
So much has happened in these first 2 games, but both games are ultimately decided with Febiven dying in a fight without doing damage. He has played his heart out to keep them in these games, but he hasn't had quite enough, and this will be KurO going 2-0.
The deficit was too big, and KurO Tigers are 2-0 against Fnatic.
Wow.
This game, we saw a different strategy from Fnatic. They didn't want to try and go all in for these aggressive early plays. They ran teleport in the mid lane. The problem is, they're still making too many of these mistakes in the early game where KurO Tigers punish them, get 1-2 kills for it, and keep delaying the game and get past that early stage for themselves.
This was a game where Fnatic almost came back from having
What?
3 inhibitors down. The emotional roller coaster that just happened can be absolutely devastating. Everyone who plays League of Legends knows losing is one thing, but almost having a miraculous comeback fall short is perhaps the most gut-wrenching thing that can happen to you.
And we just got to see KurO Tigers had 5-6 minutes to talk. How are we going to play this team fight? What is going wrong? They realize, okay, Febiven, he has an Hourglass, sure, that's fine. But as long as we can land a CC, he can't use it. And then you just saw KurO just flash forward to ult him straight away and kill him with the rest of his team. And that's how you win the fight for the KurO Tigers. Basically, their composition in the late game had a lot of different ways they could play out these fights. A lot easier for them to one-shot a carry on the side of Fnatic compared to the other way around.
Yeah.
And just a smart team fighting composition for the KurO Tigers. And again, they don't get punished early because Fnatic makes 2 great moves and then 2 bad moves. And we keep going like this, and that keeps the goal even.
So I feel like KurO Tigers was actually winning the early game in a lot of ways. They made a lot of the smart moves in the early game, which I think gave them an edge. They were up something like 12 kills to 4, and they even made aggressive teleport plays in the early and mid game and started getting them that lead. And then with that one play, they turned on their split-pushing like grind game, and they just destroyed. But then they made a lot of really big mistakes in the late game, which was the opposite of what we'd seen before. This series could actually be 2-0 in either direction, which that's honestly what Fnatic needs to remember, and it's what KurO needs to remember to keep them focused.
The thing that is great, it is one of the more competitive series that we have watched thus far. The final team fight, there was no mistakes, though, from the KurO Tigers. Let's pull that up onto your screen.
Yes, please.
And, of course, Hojin on this Zac, engaging from so far away. 0-0-13 at the end of the game.
It's why he picks the Zac. He knows he's going to sacrifice his own early game by picking it, but once we get to these late game teamfights, they're playing around anyway, and they're playing around punishing your mistakes early to mid to get to late game. It is so, so powerful.
Yeah, and just, you can't have perfect vision control in this area at this stage of the game. Look at the range on that elastic slingshot. And then the instant flash is what's so important, because Febiven needed to reaction flash that before it landed. That's the only way he stays alive in that situation.
And even then, he's just stuck in the front line in an hourglass. He gets out and he probably gets stunned by Event Horizon or something. But KurO Tigers, beautiful chaining of the CC. Zac goes in with Slingshot, then ulti, then Gorilla gets thrown in, keeps him up in the air, and then flash forward from KurO just to kill him. I mean, there's so little you can do at that point, and that's just the composition from the KurO Tigers that have so many more ways of playing late game teamfights.
So well played. KurO Tigers 2-0 up. And to take a closer look at the entire match, we're going to head to the analyst desk.
Thank you, gentlemen. 2-0 is right, and they're very correct in that this series is much closer than it appears based on the score. I want to go all the way back to the beginning, though. Champion select, Skarner, is the first thing of many that I want to look at.
I really liked the KurO Tigers draft here. If we take a look, they prioritize that Tahm Kench, take it immediately, and that's going to deny a lot of options for any kind of engage with an Ashe Arrow or anything like that. They take the Zac again, obviously very confident in Hojin's ability, maybe not in the early game, but at least to play the team fights. We saw how well he ulted onto Febiven in that last fight. Then the Skarner comes out, and how do they answer it? Veigar. Instantly take that champion because it shuts down everything that Fnatic wants to do. Not only that, they get 2 early QSSs onto the Veigar and onto the Kalista, but just the way they set up team fights, okay, the arrow comes in. Event Horizon goes down. There's no follow-up. You can't get in there with the Skarner. Too many QSSs. There were so many ways for KurO to play the team fights and very limited engage options from Fnatic.
Yeah, I agree here, Monte Cristo, on the engage. Especially if you look at that Azir picked second rotation on purple side, so very early pick. Arguably your strongest member there is Febiven, so you really want to get him a matchup. But in these team fights, he really couldn't, or Fnatic rather, couldn't play the way Azir's supposed to be playing, which is kite, zone control around objectives, let people come to you and just face the wrath of those soldiers. But every time Fnatic engaged, Febiven really couldn't contribute much in the fights until the later parts, but then they were already lost. So they're playing a team composition or strategy where they kind of dive into the backline, but KurO denies that entirely with their champ select and does that kind of better on their own. So it was incredibly hard for Fnatic to play out of this. And then in addition to that, KurO just played the mid game better with their teleports.
Well, I think when you see the Tahm Kench, you're automatically not going to go for a dive pick comp. You already lose instantly because the Tahm Kench just completely screws that up. So I think the Azir pick is fine. I think the way they played around their picks was their undoing. Like Skarner, yeah, argue about that all you want because I don't like it. But with the Ashe, yeah, you're not going to use Ashe Arrow to engage because you're not going to get your target. The thing is you still can kite with Azir Ashe. You outrange both Veigar and Kalista. The one thing is that what they weren't doing is Riven wants to go in and Skarner wants to go in. And now they're trading, like the top's going in, and then now it's like a Riven chasing a Kalista compared to a Fiora chasing an Ashe. Like, that sucks. Why don't you just kite back and then Ashe Arrow when they overextend? I think they just played the fight just really, really strange and just didn't play it slow enough.
Well, and also, too, KurO somewhat surprised Fnatic. 21 minutes into the game, KurO flipped things on their head. They went aggressive onto Fnatic, and they were slow to react to this gank in the top lane.
Yeah, that was definitely really the turning point, and we have a replay of that coming up later, as well as we just have a look at the KurO guys here. Yeah, pretty calm and collected. And this is where the KurO does it well. They know where Reignover is on the Skarner. They go aggressive, and the teleports come in first. And Jad talked a bit about this as well, double teleport on a single ward. Now we see, not Prey actually, Gorilla bending the bullet here, going around the side there with the Fate Skull. And he has actually been doing that fantastically in a lot of these situations where he has multiple men knockups with that Fate Skull, and it's actually sometimes relatively hard to do in the middle of the chaos. So really props to Gorilla there for what he's landing, but KurO is ahead of the play. They're the ones initiating it, they have the full vision, they set the teleports down first, and there was almost no way out for Fnatic there, so lack of proactivity a little bit here on Fnatic and being punished for not getting anything done.
Well, the best part about KurO doing this is it's super unexpected from KurO. They've been playing really slow until the late game, and now when they start this, Fnatic has to instantly respond, and not just respond quickly, but correctly.
Yeah.
So Fnatic's in a really bad spot the second they push up to that tier 2 turret without their jungler, without wards to TP on. So once they get in that spot, regardless if they knew it was happening, they just weren't ready for it at all. So even if they instantly respond, they're already out of position.
Yep. I mean, too, as well, actually, what's interesting is that you mentioned they have to execute properly in that scenario because YellOwStaR had a ward, right? They did TP, they had both TPs available, but that is so much information that needs to be passed and then decided upon so quickly, and they were caught off guard because they'd been the aggressors in the past.
And that's why it's always better to be on the offensive, right? Because you're the one deciding. You already have everything lined up in your brains, and the other team has very little time to react.
Now I want to push ahead to a place where Fnatic was proactive and made a very strong and bold decision. Baron dance, push KurO off of the Baron with super minions pushing in their bot lane against them.
It's a beautiful call.
This was a beautiful call.
Yeah, so we see right here, just taking it, and they are going to actually initiate this fight. So KurO just trying to zone right now, but this is pretty greedy of KurO right here. They're going to take a lot of damage. Smeb tanking the Baron at first, probably not the best idea.
Yeah, in this situation, the burden of the outplay is on Fnatic, and look at the cage going down here. This just gives Fnatic a 10-second window, I believe, at this point in the game, Veigar Cage, where they need to make a call. They get the crystal, Cage is about to come up, but they have the zone control, and now Fnatic's a little scared of what's going to happen. The only play they can make here is do the Baron, but it takes so much guts to make that call here at the World Championship, and then, honestly, KurO should find a way. If people are bunched up like this, place the cage at the entrance, somehow this is a horrible cage here from KurO because it doesn't really achieve anything you want to do in these fights, and then Fnatic with some fantastic kiting to round out that fight.
Yeah, I think the way the call started off was they actually sent Fiora to the mid lane. So this was a reaction call from Fnatic. And it was a reaction call that looked like they're the ones being proactive, but the whole time they're waiting, like, is anyone mispositioning? Boom, Fiora shows up mid, they take Baron, and it's like, now they're just doing awesome stuff.
One thing I still want to touch on, what I think Fnatic should do better is just get back to a sidestone on Reignover, really just get more information with wards. Fnatic in the European LCS thrived by just using wards efficiently and then getting a little extra teleport angles. If you're playing double teleport, the value of that second sidestone definitely goes up. So the more wards you have, the more angles you can make it play, because late game, it's so hard to get behind people. We saw the value of one single, not even a deep ward, lane ward in the top lane that facilitated that play that we had on the replay earlier from KurO. Those are the things you want to be looking for.
Well, it's 2-0 now, but both of these games have been incredibly close. Keep it tuned right here because our coverage from Brussels continues with Game 3 of Fnatic versus the KurO Tigers. As we go, a reminder that World Championship Summoner icons are only available until the end of the tournament, so be sure to spam those emotes and support your team before they're disabled on November 5th. We'll be right back as Fnatic fight to stay alive, so don't go anywhere.
Smeb flashes away from the third proc of the broken wings. Huni will find but fails the flash. But Smeb is trying to fight Huni on the backline. Gorilla's grey health will keep him alive a little while longer, long enough to take out Rekkles. KurO are looking for a rampage. Gorilla jumps forward. He manages to find another as Smeb's running down Febiven. Baron secured by Fnatic, and Hojin's locked out. They've caught Smeb. Smeb's GA's been popped. Reignover and Huni trying to run the distance. Rekkles has got his shield popped, knocked up as YellOwStaR kicks him away. Rekkles goes down. Double kill for Bray. And KurO Tigers are 2-0 against Fnatic.
We are back here in Brussels and heading into Game 3 of Fnatic versus the KurO Tigers with a spot in the finals hanging in the balance. Now, Fnatic's backs are against the wall, and they have to win every game from here on out if they want to make that move. But I want to talk about someone who's going to do everything in his power to stop them from moving on. Smeb. We didn't talk about him in the post-game, but that guy avoiding that early tower dive and his 1v1 play, especially on this Fiora, has just been tremendous throughout the tournament.
I mean, his Riven play was spectacular as well, but coming into this is the main thing that I was like, it's like 50-50, but the thing that really tipped my prediction over the edge was thinking about Smeb versus Huni in this matchup. And Smeb has just been so dominant to this point in this series. And we've seen him blind pick Riven. Apparently, Fnatic doesn't have an answer. Now we've seen Huni play Riven. Seems like the KurO Tigers and Smeb do have an answer in Fiora. So where do you go from here?
It's a good question. It's definitely a good question, and that's where we can jump into Champion Select here. Again, back onto the blue side for Fnatic, so they have a little bit of room to play with when it comes to Champion Select. I feel it's time to turn our heads towards Daylor and the coaching staff and say, what are you going to do to set your team up, your players up in the right place to make the right plays in the game and then come out with a victory?
Well, I mean, the game one, we saw them all in on the early game, taking that Ignite. Game two, they slowed the pace down, but they found themselves at a mid-game deficit. I do think Fnatic did a great job of coming back in an extraordinarily difficult situation, and the KurO Tigers didn't close it out effectively. So now it's like, which one are they going to go for next?
I think Brawley made a great point in our post-game of our last match there that Fnatic just need to get a cohesive team composition.
Yep.
They picked two champions that are great at kiting with the Azir and the Ashe, but then, I mean, you went for the all-in, so you can't have the best of both worlds because then you will get torn apart, especially against a pick like Tahm Kench. Additionally, maybe an early prior on Tahm Kench will definitely be there for Fnatic too, and just get a team composition with an identity, but that isn't as early game oriented. I liked what they brought game one, going full on the early game, but I would still like to see at least 2 teleports, 2 side stones, and then a composition with a clear identity that Fnatic then can play around its strengths.
I think Fnatic got a more well-rounded comp aside from the Riven pick. I agree. I think the Riven pick for them was they got to play their ego pick. They got to try the 1v1 top. They tried to camp the top, try to get that ahead, and now it didn't work. Now they can reassured, like, we can't win this 1v1 top. This matchup isn't the way we thought. Now we need to go back to picking top laners for comps, and this is their option to go back to that.
And I'm pretty sure we saw YellOwStaR ran Ignite last game. That should have been an exhaust, especially against that composition. If you can actually dive into the backline with the YellOwStaR, against these lineups that KurO is running, you need the exhaust.
Well, we have our ideas what we want to see, but one thing is for certain, it is do or die for Fnatic here. Right now, we're going to head over to the caster booth for the call.
Thank you very much, Dash. 2-0 in favor of the KurO Tigers. Fnatic back on blue side. Last time around, KurO banned out GP Maud and Elise. Are we expecting that to stay the same?
Yeah, why change it if you're the KurO Tigers at the moment? It's more on Fnatic. If they want to leave a Tahm Kench open and first pick it, and then ban Rek'Sai themselves, I don't see that happening. I think they will value getting that early jungle pick for Reignover, but then do a mix. You don't have to do Rek'Sai, LeBlanc with Ignite and like all in on the early game. You can do Rek'Sai and like Azir again or Victor in the mid lane, a control mage with teleport, and you get early game power and you get some late game power at the same time.
I still think Fnatic should go in for the early game. I think their game one strategy was sound. I think if they execute that better, they can try to pull their way back in the series because KurO has no need to change their play style, and I think Fnatic should try and play that nearly winning game again.
And that's why I like Azir, especially for Febiven, because it's one of the champions where he can win that mid lane and push it in and be aggressive while still have more team fighting power later on. But obviously LeBlanc was left open by the KurO Tigers in the first game because of Gangplank, Mordekaiser, and the Elise ban. But I'm still expecting Fnatic to go for Rek'Sai as the first pick. We see exactly the same bans come in so far for both teams. Lulu would come next for Fnatic, and then Elise, if it is as in game one.
Nothing changed yet. Let's see if Fnatic agree and they want to go for that early to mid-game team fight, where they were up against it against Origin in the Summer Split Finals. They ran Rumble and Emmy for similar style. Game ended up going long, but it was that play that got them there. Instead of banning Lulu, they take out Vigar.
Maybe trying to tell KurO Tigers, you need to ban Lulu now and we get Elise first pick. But I think KurO Tigers can still just ban the Elise and first pick Fnatic first pick Rek'Sai and then get Lulu themselves.
This is super tricky because now they need to pick between the Rek'Sai or the Lulu. That's a really high valuation they put on that Veigar.
But it does tell me somewhat they want to play Azir again. And they just don't want to risk the same thing happening in the late game or control mage in the mid lane, and they don't want to risk having to match the scaling of a Veigar. So they value that above getting or banning away the Lulu. We might also see them do something completely different, and they just want to avoid what KurO can do in the late game on this champion, because they have made mistakes, Fnatic in the early game, which has allowed KurTigers to get to late game, which means this Veigar pick, even if shut down early on, will activate at some point during the game and become super, super powerful.
Now, Lulu has been played once by the KurTigers this tournament, by KurO, and it was a loss. We need to see how they handle themselves and what Fnatic will run into it. Currently, the hover is on the TF. We know that Kalista is still up and available, but Fnatic have not played that yet. Kanan's up too.
Kanan is up too. I mean, you can do a full global comp here. You have Rekkles already. Twisted Fate, you don't have to pick it now, though, the way I see it for Fnatic. Because if KurTigers wants to try and skirmish you early on with Smeb up in the top lane, you bring 2, 3, 4 teleports, and you say, hey, you're not alone now. It's not a 1v1 anymore. But
yeah. Fnatic just goes with the early Orianna pick, though, which, if you're going to pick Orianna, I like picking it in this context. However, coming into this series, the only 2 games Fnatic had lost had been Febiven on Orianna. It's not a surefire playmaker. It is more of a late game champion, and it is good in the lane at least. So Fnatic is definitely keeping their options open, if more than anything here.
It's one of these small counter picks into a Lulu. In the laning phase, you will win that as the Orianna. But it is a bit what we talked about, how by banning Veigar, it seemed like Fnatic want to try and get a scaling mage in the mid lane, just not want to deal with Veigar's scaling as well. So ban him away, so they might run a composition now, a wombo combo composition against this Lulu and say, okay, you can only ulti 1 guy. If we get 2 or 3 with our AoE comp, the Lulu ulti will do very little. But obviously you have to then execute it perfectly.
All right, we'll see if Febiven can make that work and how well YellOwStaR is going to perform on this Thresh. First time here at Worlds 2015. Thresh has somewhat fallen by the wayside as a go-to support. We did see last week KT versus KU. And we'll see what Yellow can do with it today. Lee Sin locked in for Hojin, formerly known as Lee, and Prey going to his Ashe once more.
This is actually the jungle pick I expected, not the Zac. In most of these games, Hojin did get some good late game teamfights with the Zac, but this is much more his style. It's not a good matchup against the Rek'Sai, but it's probably better than Zac as far as early game matchup,
for sure.
because Lee Sin is a good early game champion. I really like those 2 picks from KU. They're also forcing Fnatic into some difficult choices because the Ashe arrows can be game-changing.
Yeah, KurTigers is running with a lot of pick potential here. Lee Sin single out a guy, Ashe Arrow single out a guy. YellOwStaR is fantastic at diving, again, catching out people. So KurTigers with a lot of pick potential on their side. So far, though, not running a whole lot of damage.
And a big change in style for Hojin. Both of his Zac games previously, the pre-6 ganks almost non-existent. Now, going to have the option to surprise Fnatic. They will go blind pick Riven.
I want to see Lissandra soon. Someone has to play Lissandra top into like Fiora or Riven, but nobody's done it so far. Not sure Smeb needs to.
I think we're going to have to wait for Marin to play it in the finals. It's one of his most played champions in solo queue, and both these guys are Riven players, or on Smeb's case, a Fiora player.
Smeb can just go Fiora and take the same
Doesn't seem like Fiora is in Huni's champion pool here. Could end up costing them a whole bunch. Or does Smeb go and play the same pick into Huni? So Huni played into Smeb.
Let's think back to game 1. Because what happened in this matchup, it was very even early, but as soon as Huni got a bit of armor picked up for that Frozen Heart as the first item, there was no trades going on anymore. He could just push out the wave all the time and look for flanks. He didn't have to worry about the Riven trying to all in him. So Smeb is going to do exactly the same. Again, it's a composition with so much pick potential coming in here. If Fnatic is mispositioned, that's an arrow in your face, Lee Sin kicks you back and smack.
And I think the Hecarim is a reliable counter pick to the Riven. It is a favorable matchup later on in the game, whereas the Fiora is still a skill matchup that Smeb won, but they're not necessarily taking risks here. Hojin on a comfortable champion, KurO had to do the Lulu denial. These are actually much different team compositions that we did see in game 1, so maybe we see a completely unique game here.
And we got to see Fnatic take the best of both worlds. Rek'Sai first pick, so you have that early game jungler. I still think this is a lot more mixed compared to what we saw before. They have a control mage who can scale in the mid lane, and you have an early game jungler, compared to before, where they were in a situation where they had to pick a Skarner because Rek'Sai and Elise were banned away. And they're like, okay, how do we get early pressure? Skarner? Nope, that's not going to work. So now they have a bit of everything.
Okay. And we need to see how they make use of all of their different tools, because this could be the last game from a European team on European soil. Ladies and gentlemen of Brussels, Let your votes be known on Twitter and with your cheers. Will Fnatic be able to pick up any games at all in this best-of-5 semi-final? Or will KurO show the Korean dominance and have our first ever all-Korean final at the World Championships? It's game 3 with Fnatic on the blue side, fighting to stay alive. And that hill has become incredibly challenging.
Fnatic has to win 3 games in a row, but with the closeness of the first 2, it is a definite possibility. What we have to keep in mind, though, is if this game starts early for the KurO Tigers in a favorable fashion, if they get first blood, if they start up a couple thousand gold, I think the entire series is over. I do not think mentally a team can come back from that type of start after the agonizing way they were defeated in the first 2 matches.
Also not running double teleport on the side of Fnatic. Febiven once again is going all in on this laning phase. Orianna does do really well into Lulu, so he's looking to once again push KurO into his own tower and open up for Reignover to be more aggressive, invade into the enemy jungle, take one-on-ones, 2v2s in there, use that Riven as well for extra damage in the early game. So Fnatic will have tools to play around the early game, but we know what happens late game when you're down a teleport.
Well, KurO Tigers have already shown that their quarterfinal form of falling behind and then bouncing back is something they can do comfortably. Their group stage form was significantly more impressive in the early game, by securing a ton of kills and punishing both Pain and CLG. Let's see if Hojin with Prey and Smeb can again get that strong early and maybe snuff out any hope of Fnatic pulling the reverse sweep.
Yeah, I think absolutely with Lulu and Ashe, they can still have a decent late game plan, but this is more KurO Tigers composition that'll take some risks early. This is more of the group stage style of KurO, where maybe they feel comfortable enough to make plays. Just wait for the first time Fnatic groups and see if Prey lands the Ashe arrow that starts the cascade.
Prey is probably the best Ashe player in Korea. He was one of the first guys to really bring it out again during the playoffs and so on. He's very known for having fantastic hawk shots, and then also, of course, that arrow landing at the correct target. And KurO Tigers really looking a little more. They're gonna spike more in the mid game with what they're running here in this game.
Potentially final match of the series. Febiven and KurO going toe-to-toe. We are going to see the head-to-head matchup up top as well. Huni and Smeb settling in. And both duos going toe. So we'll see what Huni can do. He ran the Hecarim first, but it's coming off way worse for wear. Smeb just throws Spirit of Dread and laughs in his face.
Yeah, and Hecarim also has Ignite, so he's up a combat summoner in this lane. You almost have to gank the Hecarim early, but if he's chunking the opponent laner like this, you can't do that either. Huni's hoping that he can bounce the wave off the turret here and then recall, but he's taken so much damage early, he's going to be in for a world of hurt.
Let's just remember Smeb is running Flask and 3 potions. So the fact he's winning early trades so easily is going to make it even worse for Huni, because he has no way now of sustaining himself. 3% lifesteal on Adorn's Blade is absolutely nothing for him.
He's really trying hard, but he knows once Smeb hit level 3, he can get the E up with Ignite. It would be enough to kill Huni out of lane. That's why he's really delaying this recall. Early laning phase goes heavily to Smeb top lane.
So Smeb with a soft counter pick, already in a good position. We'll see how early he can get that armor secured. Rekkles and Yellow, they're pushing heavily in the bottom lane.
So this Riven pick for Huni will most likely just be because it's a comfort pick for him. I don't see Fnatic necessarily go and camp the lane, because if you look at what they've done with the rest of their comp, you have a counter pick in mid that's going to push in to tower. Look where Febiven is on the map now. Sivir against Ashe. Sivir can fast push the wave over and over, and Ashe cannot push it back. She can out-trade the Sivir, but that's very difficult to do when you have minions around you. So Fnatic have 2 lanes pushing on the bottom side of the map. They will constantly push into tower. That's what Reignover is going to use to get into the jungle near that blue buff, take that control, and always chip away in these towers here for Fnatic. Play it fairly slow, honestly. You don't have to go for a crazy dive. Just keep pushing in waves on the bottom side. Huni just has to stay alive on the top lane.
Look at the speed in which Reignover cleared that jungle. No hesitation, full clear, and sightstone. So more what we saw in the quarterfinals, where he had an average 6 minute sightstone. This one's 4.5 minutes sightstone.
It's one of the things the analyst desk was saying they'd like to see a little bit more from Fnatic, the Sightstones. We're hoping for 2 TPs. We'll see if Reignover can make use of the vision provided. And Huni again, coming off worse for wear in that trade. Smeb just runs him down with a devastating charge and rampages.
You have to be so careful now, because you're going Sightstone first on your Rek'Sai, against a jungler who's going to go Warrior and Charm. So Hojin will have some more early game power with his longsword. And if Rek'Sai takes a risky gank on top side, you know Hojin likes to sit up there and wait.
You mean like this?
Like this, that could end very quickly in 2 kills for KurO Tigers.
So weird to be having the Riven here. It's the danger of the blind pick because now you have to play Riven into an unfavorable matchup. And Kobe loves to talk about it all the time. You have to gank for a Riven lane when you're on Riven's team or against Riven's team because that's where the jungle attention is going to be going. And that actually plays into KurO right here. So Huni needs to play defensively on Riven, which almost always leads to a large CS discrepancy in Riven's, not in Riven's favor.
Yeah, the only thing we might see happen for Fnatic is if they keep Reignover on top side, maybe force Hojin to stay there so there's no jungle pressure on the 2 lanes pushing for Fnatic, and they just let Febiven and Rekkles do the job on their own while you try and, bait attention on the top side. But we keep seeing these trades. Smeb is already going to get some early armor. He's going to get that Frozen Heart as his first item, and Huni doesn't really have that chance to all in.
No, not at all. 10 CS down already. Smeb's still got that Ignite and the Sustain. Huni's going to lose even more CS. So a Miracle TP play is what they're looking for. Febiven throws down the Shockwave almost as soon as he unlocks it. Just trying to bully KurO out. Got himself a 10 CS advantage. It's something, but it's not massive just yet.
So now with Reignover being around top side, getting 2 deep wards in to try and spot Hojin in the red jungle here, which is very nice. It did mean once he maybe had a small chance to gank the bottom lane, he obviously wasn't nearby because he's been making work on the other side of the map. Frey and Gorilla are overextending at the moment. You have Lantern, you have Flash for YellOwStaR. There's a lot of ways to set up this gank. And I like the fact he's now sneaking down towards this gank. He can even go over the wall with his tunnel, and then he goes the opposite side towards the mid lane.
It's pretty smart of Reignover, though. He knows he doesn't actually have the combat effectiveness with Sidestorm right now, and he's successfully and safely gotten 2 wards deep within the jungle of KurO. So at the very least, he's stopping Hojin from having early jungle presence, or so he hopes. YellOwStaR with a very poor face check.
Oh, he's in so much trouble. Flash and Exhaust are available. YellOwStaR manages to sidestep the Sonic Wave. Teleport started, then cancelled by KurO. So they do get at least one of those summoners at the cost of their flash and heal.
Strange play from YellOwStaR. I'm 100% sure they saw Hojin in the jungle with the wards just being placed from Reignover's side.
That was one of those things, well, if I check it in here, I am going to lose. So I should check it just to make sure that's not the case.
Because even if there's nobody there, what was going to happen? He would just walk up the river.
Yes. Very foolish play there, but he keeps his exhaust at least. I like the fact that he has exhaust, specifically against Hecarim.
But these small mistakes is exactly why KurO Tigers in the last 2 games have been able to always, even when really far behind, find a way back into the game. Because Fnatic would then make that little overextension or have that one bad call they made, and that's where KurO Tigers punish you every single time in the early game.
And it goes further than just that. In the quarterfinal matchup, KurO just kept showing ways they knew how to defend. They knew how to play on the back foot, and they've done that in their own region during the course of the summer split. I mean, this is the team that is looking the most likely to advance on to the championship finals. And every single time they show up, they find new ways to impress and new ways to look good on the Rift.
Although Febiven does have that 21 CS advantage on KurO. KurO, even with the catch, is still losing this early game by 400 gold, even with the counter pick in the top lane. So they're definite things not going well for KurO Tigers. Yet, as you say, Quickshot, they consistently find ways to win.
I still like this from Reignover, how he goes up not to gank, but just to place a ward. Now he finds Hojin as well.
He's gonna look for the knockup. Huni actually flashes over the wall. Dragon's Rage will buy some time. Reignover's holding on to his flash. Huni pulled the trigger very early. Look at the river. KurO has got support. Reignover and Huni, they've gone too far. Onslaught of Shadows sends them against the wall. Smeb is looking for Huni, looking for first blood. Febiven does have Shockwave, but will not use it. Flash is available, and KurO Tigers, they secure the first kill.
Great roam by Gorilla to be there, and that's ultimately what salvaged the kill at the end. But honestly, there were so many small misplays by Fnatic in the approach of that gank. First off, Reignover didn't have to jump over the wall early because Hojin was going to walk around that bend, and then he could have followed with his tunnel. Secondly, he unburrowed early and didn't chain the CC with Huni, but with the YellOwStaR roam up in the top lane, Fnatic at least cross-maps with the turret.
Yeah, that's what I like about the play here for Fnatic, is the fact that either it's 3 versus 3 and it's even because they forced Hojin away, or if another guy joins, being at 80 carry support or whatever, you take the bot tower. Because again, remember what Fnatic has done for the first 10 minutes. Constantly push the bot lane and the mid lane and chip away on the towers.
The idea of the play was great. Reignover preempted the Lee Sin invade. The execution of the play was extremely lackluster, and KurO out-executed once again. That's basically how KurO has been winning these games. I think strategically, Fnatic has had a lot of superior calls, but KurO has just been playing better in the moment again and again.
Let's see if Rekkles can outplay Gorilla. Spell shields the headbutt, and Gorilla not going to be quick enough on that pulverize, but gets the summoner spell. And that means Reignover, Huni, and Rekkles, or even Yellow, are flashless for the next few minutes.
Yeah, in order for Rekkles now to move further in this game, he's already taking his own bot lane tower. There's no value in him just constantly pushing the bot lane, really, at the moment. So he really wants to push out this wave and then swap to top lane and 2v1 the Hecarim. But because he just lost the flash, it becomes so much harder for him to do. And here's a dive.
YellOwStar's in trouble. He's been caught by the Crystal Arrow, and the TP is going to bring some more play from KurO. They get themselves a second kill, and maybe even the tower if they stick around for this next wave.
Now that was a good play by KurO. That's exactly what they want to do in that situation. They burned the early summoner spell by Rekkles. They made it even more dangerous for YellOwStaR to stay under, and they abused their double teleport advantage.
Exactly. That's where, again, Fnatic can get punished for not running a teleport in the mid lane. Had Febiven had TP ready, had he had the summoner at all, right here he would just have TP'd instant down to this bot lane tower, and this dive would never even have started. KurO Tigers are just saying, we can be 4 members against 3. We have an YellOwStaR to dive. Easy, let's go for it, and that's a kill.
And despite being down 30 CS in the mid lane, with KurO's kill and assist, he's even on gold with Febiven. So he's using that teleport to keep himself very, very relevant.
I think you are in a winning lane matchup without the offensive summoner on the side of Fnatic. So when we even heard YellOwStaR say, oh, let's see what happens top.
All right, let's throw everything and a sink at Smeb. He's already chunked Huni down. The flay comes out. Onslaught of shadows.
Man.
Smeb's got one, and he's not done. He's looking for YellOwStaR and Reignover. Reignover unburrows the rest of KurO, come in from the jungle. And ladies and gentlemen, if Huni wasn't tilted already, that may be the play that does it.
Smeb is putting his stamp on this series like he did in the quarterfinals as well. 1v3, and he turns it around. He was already in a winning matchup. He already had stacked armor, yet they gank him with double physical damage and expect it to go well. That was a poor call by Fnatic, and we were wondering what would happen if they started behind in this game. How desperate would they become already being down 2-0? That was one of the worst decisions Fnatic has made all series.
Gonna cost them the top tower. Rekkles was trying to shove in middle, but unable to secure the mid turret. All of a sudden, Fnatic are now 2,000 gold down, 3 kills down, an extra tower down, and the pressure continues to mount.
He had the right plan in the start. Reignover wouldn't gank, he would just get a side stone, place deep wards, make sure Riven could farm, make sure your laners were safe so they could keep pushing the waves. Play, it's slow. You even have that combat summoner in mid lane, so you're supposed to win it. Febiven is ahead in farm, so again, just wait it out. Take these towers. Instead, Fnatic, after giving up 1 kill, instantly says, okay, let's go for another fight. Now suddenly we need to do something, otherwise we're gonna fall behind. And that's where KurO Tigers can punish them completely.
Oh, you got a flash sideways, Febiven. He doesn't get away from the arrow. And an easy pickup for KurO. Now they've even got uncontested time towards this middle lane.
You gotta hand it to KurO Tigers, though. They are absolutely recognizing where Fnatic is at, and they are going for the aggressive plays. Prey with Ashe does this against everybody. Beautiful arrow from right outside of Fog. Flashes backwards instead of sideways. I don't think that's a play Febiven makes in game 1, but based on the circumstances of this match, he flashes straight backwards, KurO converts, gets their 4th kill.
Making it just look so, so easy. With the enchanted arrow from Prey, that library card continues to get stamped for Fnatic. And KurO are just now starting to strangle the life out of Fnatic. They do have wave clear in Orion and Sivir, so there is some comeback mechanics, but they cannot afford to keep falling prey to Prey as those Ashe arrows get flung out.
And again, they don't have a teleport. So KurO Tigers can say, okay, we're just gonna 1-3-1, push in every single lane. Whenever Fnatic sends someone to the bottom side to defend like they're doing now, they get
Right
killed.
in a gorilla.
All of a sudden, Rekkles is delivered into the hands of KurO, but there's no damage to follow it up. KurO may have bitten off a little more than they can chew. Prey's in trouble. He gets away from the wind slash as the teleport's coming in here for Smeb. He's now landed. Onslaught of Shadows is available. Huni's on the front line. Not even needed. Smeb throws the onslaught towards the tower.
Into the tower.
And Huni's left for dead. Shockwave connects on Prey, but doesn't find a kill. Top laners are down, and Fnatic are able to at least go even after an over-aggressive play from KurO.
This was almost the best Fnatic could have hoped for. We saw it. Febiven was down on bottom lane to clear the wave that was pushed in by KurO, so KurO Tigers say, okay, now we have a numbers advantage. We can engage in the mid lane. We're still only 15 minutes in, though. So diving between two towers, so now to be a little bit more than what the KurO Tigers could do. But in the end, it's still 1-for-1.
I think KurO Tigers is trying to push the tempo a little bit with their Warrior Lee Sin, especially at this stage in the game, which is why you're seeing such an aggressive roam from Gorilla and the Lulu down already. They actually used the Lulu ultimate very early for Gorilla to overtank that turret, but then immediately have to turn on the retreat because Prey actually took turret aggro. So not a coordinated play, a rarity from KurO so far in this series. Smeb teleports in defensively. And I actually like the heal from Rekkles while the Onslaught of Shadows comes out to position and not get knocked backwards. I think that was very critical.
At the end, though, Smeb gets pulled into tower, goes down, but we're going to see KurO Tigers try and do this again. Look at Lulu on the bottom side of the map. Fnatic is pinging and saying, okay, this might be our chance to rush in mid tower. To force at least the teleport from KurO. That's the best you can hope for if you're Fnatic. Force the TP, then back away, but then do it again in 2 minutes time when KurO Tigers cannot put up this 1-3-1 pressure. So Fnatic want to force a teleport right now to get that summoner away, but KurO Tigers, they know it, they're ready to fight.
Oh, Gorilla's gone in and found 3. The arrow connects onto Rekkles and he's dead. He gets kicked backwards. Gorilla's the one with the kill credit. We just see Huni take the lantern to safety. Tower will give Fnatic some breathing room. But Prey again finding the enchanted crystal arrow. Rekkles had flash. Smeb may a little bit out of position. Huni and YellOwStaR trying to jump him down, but Gorilla comes forward. The shockwave finds 4. There's simply not enough ability power. YellOwStaR and Reignover, like lambs to the slaughter. They throw themselves at the wall and come away wanting.
Yeah, trading a Thresh kill for an unnamed kill on the enemy side is not a good idea. YellOwStaR really with a bit of a desperation play here, and I think this is another one. Fnatic desperately trying to turn this game around. Reignover's now in enemy territory without much backup.
No, he does have at least some protects and dissonances from Febiven. And that now puts Fnatic even further behind. 3,000 gold. KurO Tigers, they're showing up.
Yeah, they really are, especially in this game where they're making the Ashe plays work. This is why Ashe was banned against them so many times earlier on.
So we get once again this trade between them, but the only positive thing really for Fnatic with this fight, even though they're losing all these members and it's obviously not a great play, is now they have a bit of time where there's only one teleport on the side of KurO Tigers. This is your opening if you are Fnatic to get back into this game. You need that mid tower down. You need to get a team fight around the dragon and you need to win that team fight. If that doesn't happen, KurO Tigers is going to keep doing this for another 10 minutes and they're going to keep getting more and more kills.
I'm looking at the items though, and Fnatic just isn't there. Every powerful item that they need to complete, Death Cap on Orianna, anything on Huni, Infinity Edge on Rekkles, KurO is ahead of them in every single aspect.
You just don't have a choice.
They cannot 5v5 unless they get a pick early, but KurO is the team getting the picks. Fnatic actually just needs to stall this one out and give away dragons.
The thing is, by stalling it out for Fnatic, you just put yourself in a situation where you will have to spread out on the map, wave clear in the side lane, and then 5 members from KurO Tigers will dive you in the mid or in the top lane, and they would get their kill or start setting up the Baron. So you just put yourself in a situation now where there is no good play. And that's the worst situation you could be in as a team in League of Legends, because normally you always have, okay, there's one good play, one okay play, and there's a few bad plays. Obviously we're trying to aim for the good one. Now you're in a situation where everything is bad, 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 maybe okay at the very, very best. And you need to outplay KurO Tigers then.
And you have to give so much credit to KurO Tigers. They were coming in, heralded by many as one of the weaker Korean teams, but Hojin finds a death sentence, and as the support of Gorilla on the hunt is coming out, Huni has arrived from the back line. Dragon's Rage finds 4 Ash Arrow onto Febiven as well. Gorilla's still running interference. Rekkles has got a kill onto Hojin, and Gorilla's Unbreakable Will is quite early. So the bad plays have resulted in a net +1 kill. Defensive flay to get rid of Smeb. Huni's trampled underneath the weight of that power pony. Rekkles is in trouble. The shockwave's already been pulled, and Fnatic's last chance, last ditch effort is being strangled away. Who take 4, the cost of 2.
You can see what Fnatic is trying to do. Again, they're simply saying we have to just try and go for some insanely risky plays. Waiting is going to be almost impossible for them. At least that's what seems to be the call for Fnatic. And obviously they lose the fight.
It's the manifestation of desperation deficient.
It is.
Because they are down 3,000 gold, and they had a clean kill onto Hojin with no casualties, yet they persist. The way they come back in this game, if they want to come back in this game, is through several small wins, not one home run. You can't be swinging for the fences on every single pitch, or you will strike out more often than not. So KurO Tigers is taking the reliable good plays, and they're literally punishing Fnatic every time they reach too far.
I think you have to take a step back and just look at KurO. We'll do that in a moment. This is a replay of that fight.
Yeah, Hojin makes a mistake. They do a lot of peeling here, Gorilla and Hojin, just to keep him alive for a little bit longer. And you can see how heavily out of position KurO actually are with their double teleports being down. So that's the window Fnatic has. But the map is only so big. It's going to shrink eventually, and KurO brings their soul inners back into this fight while Fnatic continues to be here. And because of the item differentials in this team fight right now, Fnatic had no chance once Smeb and KurO arrived.
Yeah, Smeb 2 levels above Huni right now. Insanely fed on this Hecarim. Fnatic is saying again, 5 vs 4, let's try something. It's not the right call. They get punished for it. KurO Tigers, 21 minutes in. It's 5,000 gold ahead. And this is the team who's been playing normally really well in the late game.
Yep.
Did make some mistakes in the last game though, where Fnatic almost managed to get back. Wasn't enough in the end though.
Yeah, this is a team who has been down this amount of gold earlier in the game and still beaten Fnatic.
And I asked the question at the beginning of the day, if Fnatic get the lead that KT had from the quarterfinal, will Fnatic close it out?
I said yes back then. I definitely expected more from Fnatic when it came to their shot calling, how to snowball the games.
But all credit to KurO for, again, punishing when the mistakes presented, playing so safe they didn't provide more opportunities for the lead to extend. This is a team that is... You can question some of their calls, but you cannot question their ability to find ways back into the game. They wiggle out of every chokehold they're put into.
Very creative teamwork. You can tell KurO Tigers, really Gorilla picked the team that he wanted to play with. A lot of old members from Najin.
The B team at the beginning of the year,
a lot of players that had been rejected by other organizations, and they are not even just one game away from the final, a couple fights away from the final.
Wow, Febiven's already dead. Shockwave didn't even get used. Wild growth on that frontline Gorilla. Unbreakable Will reducing any damage he could take, and KurO just say we'll have that and brute force their way into the mid-inner turrets.
It's the same situation again for KurO Tigers. They push in at least 2 lanes, so they have one guy from Fnatic defending. This time it was Huni with no teleport, and they know, okay, he's gonna catch the wave with tier 2 tower. We walk straight through Fnatic's jungle, and we just dive them 5 members. We have so much engaged. Hecarim, YellOwStaR, Ashe, Lee Sin, like almost all the champions can start the fight for KurO Tigers and get that one pick, and they even spike in this mid game.
Huni's in trouble. The onslaught will throw Smeb far enough to get the kill credit. Rekkles is now exhausted, and YellOwStar's trying to run interference. There's no box available for zoning. It's a double kill for Smeb, and KurO gets his 3rd. Fnatic were dancing around the Baron pit, and KurO take their lives.
The mid-game power spike of Hecarim Lulu. There is really no speed equivalent to that combo when you're trying to run away. So even though Rekkles was far from the origin point of that battle, he ends up catching the bad end of it.
Reignover and Febiven standing against KurO. They're in the Baron pit and
Pretty
low.
big shockwave
the
opportunity.
Shockwave is available, but the headbutt will knock Reignover away. Shockwave gets damaged, but nothing more. And KurO Tigers have the tools they need to finish this game out, to clean sweep Fnatic.
Definitely didn't expect that coming into this series. We knew KurO were great.
This was always going to be the most contested series we've seen.
We all looked at
Could have
Fnatic
gone either way.
as the Western hope, basically, for getting into the final. With Origin facing SK Telecom, nobody expected a whole lot from that match. But this one here has been surprising. How well KurO has been able to play went behind, even went ahead outside of those 5 minutes in game 2. And we just gotta give it to them. They really deserve to be so far ahead in this game and already be up 2-0.
What a year for KurO. Not only were they... Oh, hey, Ashar also comes in. KurO's just going to keep trying to run down Huni. But put together as someone of the B team, Rekkles on the hunt. He does not want to get caught out. Smeb still got that onslaught.
Fnatic just has to concede so much right now. KurO's been able to play this game, specifically the 1-4, with giant gold deficits. So with a mid-game team composition in the mid-game with a 10,000 gold lead, they are making it look easy.
And really, this game has just been all about KurO. Picks and bans, something that it feels KurO have had their finger on the button all series long, hell, all tournament long, really, for most of the games. And just showing up on the big stage.
And now we just need KurO to take this wave in the mid lane with the Baron buff. Not sure why he didn't want it before. Fnatic keep looking for that one opening where you catch a guy slightly out of position, but even getting that one kill now won't really result in anything for Fnatic. Smeb, he doesn't care about Huni down here at all.
Not at all. 3-level difference. The wild growth comes up. Huni's going to get shut down. Gorilla finds 2 with the pulverize, and despite a decent shockwave, it will not matter. Rekkles is on the retreat. Febiven's got no mana, and Smeb just prances into his face. Takes another inhibitor away from Fnatic. 11,000 gold lead. That's going to grow even more as these minions funnel through. Inhibitor number 2 is going to fall. And KurO can play this one safe. Not make the same shenanigans that we saw from the previous game. 3 inhibitors down. Almost giving Fnatic an opportunity back into the game.
And I hate to say it, but how similar is this series to the one we saw yesterday? As far as the nature of the games playing out. Origin played SKT really close in game 1.
They're gonna try now, Fnatic.
Well, Reignover's arrived. Huni teleported to the tunnel and gonna try look for a kill. Gonna hold on to his ultimate in that wind slash. Hojin finds the Krugs. He even makes it out alive at the investment of TP, Void Rush, even on the hunt, I believe.
And then aside from the big mistakes that KurO made at the end of game 2, that was a more one-sided affair. And then game 3 has just been an absolute slaughter. KurO comes in with some different picks, more of their comfort, you would say, with Hojin's Lee Sin. And this game isn't even looking close.
I think KurO, what they do so well is they make so many of these low-risk plays. They're very consistent in the way they play it out. They don't go for that all-in tower dive that completely backfire very often. Even when they had a bad play in the mid lane, it's because they were so far ahead already and they end up just trading 1-for-1. So very rarely do you see them completely mess it up. Where Fnatic, their playstyle is a lot more high risk, high reward. They will go for these aggressive plays, but against a team who's ready for it, it can backfire very easily. And that's what we have seen in this series.
Well, Death Sentence finds Smeb, but YellOwStaR's just booted away. Shockwave laying available in the middle of the lane. Prey not going to step close enough. The Super's now inside the base of Fnatic. Huni to play with time and play with the Winions. That's all they need. Huni's trying to deal with him on the bottom lane.
Yep, 2 inhibitors down. This time Fnatic doesn't have an Azir who's much better at clearing multiple waves of super, so even these 2 waves of super minions give KurO a big window to take down inhibitor 3 or the game.
Gorilla's found Rekkles and Smeb once more. Rekkles gets feared towards his Nexus. Febiven's on the retreat, waits for exhaust to tag before throws down the shockwave. Huni wants to try clean up, but the Dragon's Rage will send the team away. It is a double kill for Fnatic. They're defending, but it's very little. It's very late, and I don't think it's going to matter.
Reignover jumped a mile behind the rest of the team while they were trying to trace out. Now he's in trouble. They lose the inhibitor, but they do pick up some kills.
Might be able to get Prey.
Let's take a look.
Prey Seeker.
Doesn't want to be here. Smeb can quite easily pick this kill up. They're going to go 1-for-1. This is the best friend battle, ladies and gentlemen. Reignover and Smeb throws up the flare, but it is Smeb that will have the last laugh.
As in life, your best friend just runs away from you.
Smeb probably says only players who can make it to finals get to fight one. And walks away from Huni.
Oh, I like that.
And Reignover.
Well, 10,000 gold down, double super minions in every single lane. Just one more time of this last-ditch effort here from Fnatic.
Gorilla makes a pretty nice initiation. I honestly think there's a pretty big overreach by KurO, so they didn't even finish killing the inhibitor because they're splitting their damage so heavily when they make this engage.
Yeah, whenever we say they're making all these low-risk plays and so on, and they get really far ahead in the game, they go for these fights. We're like, oh, okay, they just gave a few kills here and there. It's very interesting, though, because Fnatic right now...
There he goes.
are just trying what they can to get back and Reignover. Looking for more, didn't end up getting it, but like, Rekkles is really far ahead in farm, Febiven is far ahead in farm. They were winning these lanes, but KurO are winning as a team every single time. It's not individually one guy, maybe outside of Smeb, who is being an absolute monster up in his top lane. Him against Marin is gonna be such a great battle.
Now Supers are onto the Nexus turrets and KurO not putting themselves far enough forward to be at risk yet. Waiting for those next lines to move their way in. And the fire of Fnatic on home soil looking to be extinguished. The KurO have killed Huni. 4 members of Fnatic left to try wave clear, but the Dragon's Rage knocks him in the air. Shockwave cannot even complete, and the KurO looking to upset the hometown heroes. KurO will get themselves the ace, will get themselves the base, and will earn themselves a shot at the Summoners Cup in Berlin against SK Telecom.
And you can't help but be happy for the KurO.